Chapter 2669. There was nothing they could do. The 6 rulers of Starry Sky were very depressed. They did not expect things to come to this point. Looking at the 3 people in front of them, the 6 rulers of Starry Sky were furious. Longao and the other 2 had provoked them again and again. If the 6 of them could continue to endure, they would not be rulers of Starry Sky. They suppressed the anger in their hearts. The godly mathematician looked at Longao and said, "Longao, there is no point in continuing like this. As long as you hand over the primordial rock, I will consider letting you go." Would the godly mathematician really let him go? Longao had already seen the godly mathematician's shamelessness. How could a person who could break an agreement keep his word? Longao did not speak. Long Chong, who was standing to the side, said, "Godly mathematician, we have already seen your shamelessness. There is no need for this." Without waiting for the godly mathematician to speak, Long Chong continued, "The primordial rock is our friend. Even if we die here, we will not tell you where the primordial rock is. You should give up." The godly mathematician was not angry. Yidugu could not bear it. He had 6 rulers of Starry Sky on his side, while the other side only had 2. As for Longao, Yidugu directly ignored him. 6 against 2. The 6 of them could completely suppress the other side, but in the end, Longao and the other 2 provoked them again and again. This could not be tolerated. He sneered. Yidugu's face was full of ridicule. He said disdainfully, "Longao, you can only rely on the space artifact in your hand. If you have the ability, you and I fight. If you can defeat me, you can leave. How about it?" Hearing Yidugu's shameless words, Longao laughed. Xiling and Longchong also laughed. "Yidugu, I will fight you. How about it?" Yidugu did not speak. He was not afraid of Longchong, but this was a matter of great importance. If he was unlucky and lost to Longchong, how would he explain it to his father and the others? Longchong became even more sarcastic. "How shameless! How can someone like you become a ruler of the stars? I feel ashamed for your father." Courting death. The anger in Yidugu's heart completely exploded, turning into billowing murderous intent that directly suppressed Yifutian. As Yidugu attacked, Master God Diviner and the others didn't hesitate to attack. 6 rulers of the Starry Sky attacking at the same time was shocking. This time, Longao and the other 2 did not continue to dodge. Instead, they welcomed the 6 rulers of Space's battle. In the blink of an eye, the 8 rulers of stars and Longao were engaged in a fierce battle. Back and forth. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sides had already exchanged hundreds of blows. "Big brother, let's go." The 3 had already decided that in this battle, Xiling and Longchong would pin down the 6 rulers, while Longao would take the opportunity to escape. Longao did not have the slightest objection to the 2's proposal. He knew very well the strength of Xiling and Longchong. Even if he left, he believed that the 2 could leave safely. Taking 10,000 steps back. After he left, Master God Diviner and the others would not be able to fight Xiling and Longchong to the death. In any case, the 2 were still rulers of the stars. Want to leave? Master God Diviner and the others were not fools. They immediately understood Longao and the other 2's intentions. With a cold snort, the 4 rulers of Heaven's path firmly suppressed Xiling and Longchong. Master God Diviner and Yidugu split up to deal with Longao. Longao and Longchong were separated by a large distance. Under such circumstances, against the 4 rulers of Heaven's path, Xiling and Longchong, even if Longao could forcibly break through the aura of the surrounding array, it would be very difficult for Longao to take the 2 into the Primal Chaos Palace. This time, Longao and the others were clearly gambling. If they won, the 3 of them would be able to smoothly leave the Sky Martial Continent. They would not be trapped in the Sky Martial Continent. If they lost, then Xiling and Longchong would be fine. Only Longao would be in big trouble. After all, with his current strength, It was almost impossible for him to fight against the races of the stars. However, Longao didn't regret it. It had been decades. Longao was very worried. He wasn't sure if Master God Diviner and the others had locked onto the Soaring Dragon Empire's position. If his luck was bad and his empire was locked onto, then he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. That was precisely why Longao was willing to take the risk of leaving, even if it meant being suppressed. Longao was pincered by Yi Dugu and Master God Diviner. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't be able to block more than 3 moves. However, with the help of the Primal Chaos Axe and the Primal Chaos 9 axes, Longao was able to block dozens of moves. It was shocking. Yi Dugu and Master God Diviner were thoroughly shocked. They couldn't figure out when Longao's shattering starry sky had become so powerful. The more it was like this, the more murderous they felt. They had to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent future trouble. Yi Dugu and Master God Diviner's attacks grew stronger. Longao's shattering starry sky was powerful, but it couldn't harm a star ruler. If his cultivation base could advance from the peak of the starry sky immortal realm to the half-step star ruler realm, then even if he wasn't a match for a star ruler, his shattering starry sky would be enough to threaten a star ruler. Yi Dugu and Master God Diviner naturally knew how serious this matter was. That was why they couldn't let Longao leave. Longao was still on the Martial Heaven continent. Once Longao left, the situation would be completely different. Yi Dugu and Master God Diviner's attacks grew stronger, and Longao was gradually finding it hard to resist. If it weren't for the spatial crack protecting him, he would have long since been killed. With the Primal Chaos 9-colored lotus protecting his body, Longao had an undying body. Even the Star Ruler wouldn't be able to kill him. There were only 2 outcomes. One was to be sent into the cycle of reincarnation, and the other was to be suppressed. However, Yi Dugu and Master God Diviner didn't know about the Primal Chaos 9-colored lotus, so they didn't plan on suppressing or sending him into the cycle of reincarnation. In the end, they would kill Longao and eliminate him completely. On the other side, Xiling and Long Chong, who were being suppressed by the 4 heavenly Daos, were very anxious. The 2 of them knew that the longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. They had to end this quickly. Otherwise, how could their big brother fight 2 alone? If their big brother was killed or suppressed, they wouldn't even have a chance to regret it. Big sister Xiling, I'll block the 4 of them. You go help big brother. The current situation was critical. Xiling naturally wouldn't hesitate. With Long Chong's power, he might be suppressed, but there was no way he would lose his life. Chapter 2670. Long Chong had become the ruler of the 5 elements starry sky, mobilizing the power of the 5 elements to form the strongest attack. Xiling did not hesitate at all. He immediately pulled himself out and rushed towards Long Chong at his fastest speed. His speed soared to the limit. In the blink of an eye, Long Chong, who had been gradually unable to resist, suddenly became relaxed with the addition of Xiling. Among the 12 rulers of the starry sky, the divine mathematician was undoubtedly the strongest. However, Xiling's strength was definitely not to be underestimated. 1 against 2. Xiling did not have the slightest sign of being unable to resist. Long Chong, leave quickly. Alright, you have to be careful. The situation was critical. He could not afford to be careless. As long as he could leave the Sky Martial continent, there was no doubt that Xiling and Long Chong would be able to leave as well. Therefore, Long Chong did not hesitate at all. He immediately rushed towards the entrance of the Sky Martial continent. You want to leave? The divine mathematician immediately activated the formation of the Sky Martial continent. Long Chong, who was preparing to leave, was immediately attacked by the formation. Wave after wave, it was continuous. Long Chong himself was a formation master. Of course, he knew how powerful the formation of the Sky Martial continent was. With just his own strength, it was difficult to deal with the formation of the Sky Martial Continent. With the formation's chi cover, even the primal Chaos Palace could not enter. Under such circumstances, he could only force his way through. Holding the primal Chaos Axe, Long Chong began to violently smash the space in front of him. Axe after axe, he continuously smashed out. The cracks in the starry sky continued to appear. Even so, he was unable to use the cracks in the starry sky to break through the formation's aura. Sky Martial Continent. At the entrance to the Sky Martial Continent had been completely sealed. Not to mention Long Chong, even Xiling or Long Chong would need some time to break through. Having successfully reached the entrance, Long Chong naturally would not miss any opportunity. The primal Chaos Axe in his hand viciously chopped towards the entrance. In the blink of an eye, Longao had already chopped out dozens of times. Boom, 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 boom. Noises kept ringing out, but for some reason, the entrance was unable to be broken open. This made Longao very anxious. Xiling and Long Chong, who were engaged in a fierce battle, saw Longao continuously attacking the entrance, but he was unable to break it open. The marvelous mathematician and the others must have done something. If they couldn't break open the entrance, then things would be very troublesome. Xiling and Long Chong didn't continue fighting. They quickly retreated to Longao's side. The two of them joined forces to help Longao break open the entrance. But what was the result? Before the two of them could even make a move, Master God Diviner and the other five arrived. Without wasting any time, the six of them immediately attacked. Let's go. Longao was very clear that continuing to fight like this was pointless. It was better to enter the Primal Chaos Hall and think of some other way to leave the Martial Heaven continent. Xiling and Long Chong forcefully attacked, immediately breaking through the formation. In the next second, Longao led the two of them into the Primal Chaos Hall. They finally breathed a sigh of relief. Longao knew that the current situation was becoming more and more favorable for him. The entrance was only a few hundred meters away. In other words, he could find a way to break open the entrance and leave at any time. As for Master God Diviner and the other five experts, their faces were extremely grim, and their expressions were extremely unsightly. The six of them had joined forces, but they were unable to suppress Xiling, Long Chong, and Longao. It was truly embarrassing. Master God Diviner, you and Yi Dugu weren't able to kill Longao even after joining forces. Was that on purpose? It was no wonder that Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu were suspicious. After all, Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu were powerful. Compared to them, Longao wasn't even on the same level. It wasn't one-on-one. Just now, Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu had joined forces to deal with Longao. Under normal circumstances, the two of them should have been able to kill Longao in a matter of minutes. But what had happened? The two of them had joined forces, but they hadn't succeeded in killing Longao. In the end, Longao had entered the spatial divine item. They were furious. Yi Dugu coldly said, Longao can shatter the starry sky. Even we have to avoid him. If we were swallowed by the spatial crack, it's easy to imagine what the result would be. Was that really the case? Master God Diviner and the other three also believed Yi Dugu's words. If it had been someone else, they definitely wouldn't have believed it. Only Longao's situation was somewhat different. He was an unpredictable variable. Longao not only has a spatial divine item, but he can also shatter the starry sky. Even we can't do that. This was also what shocked the six the most. Even the starry sky ruler couldn't shatter the starry sky and release a spatial crack. However, not only did Longao do it, but he had also done it before. One should know that Longao wasn't a peak starry sky immortal before. He was just a level 9 starry sky cultivator. The six people were very greedy. Whether it was Longao's spatial divine item or his ability to shatter the starry sky, once they got their hands on it, It would be like adding wings to a tiger. Moreover, Longao had other secret. It would be a lie to say that they weren't greedy. Even the Starry Sky ruler was no exception. Fate has already been determined. Master God Diviner, I believe you should know that the 6 of us together can't kill Longao. I'm afraid this is fate. Even if we continue to wait, it won't help. What did Longmia mean? Before Master God Diviner could speak, Longmia said, we must think of a way as soon as possible. If fate doesn't allow us to kill Longao, then we must go against fate. Only by killing Longao can we rest easy. How could the others not know what Longmia meant? In the end, the 6 of them were still afraid. In the vast starry sky, such a thing had never happened before. They wouldn't believe that there was nothing fishy about it. Tiandao nodded and said, according to Master God Diviner, Longao may have already devoured the primal chaos tablet. He just hasn't refined it yet. However, Longao's talent and variables are something I don't need to explain. I believe you all know that even if we can trap him, it will be difficult to stop him from refining the primal chaos tablet. The 6 of them knew very well what it meant for Longao to refine the primal chaos tablet and become a starry sky ruler. It would be a lie to say that they weren't worried. However, in the current situation, although the 6 of them had the upper hand, Longao had the help of 2 starry sky rulers and the protection of such a heaven-defying starry sky divine weapon. It was difficult for the 6 of them to kill Longao. Chapter 26-71. Inside the Primal Chaos Palace, Xiling and Long Chong's expressions were very clear. The 6 people outside were too strong. With just the 2 of them, it would be very difficult to deal with 6 people at the same time. In a situation where they could not leave, they could only be trapped in the Sky Martial Continent. If it was just the 2 of them, it would not be difficult at all. However, the situation now was completely different. No matter what, they had to bring Longao with them. This was very troublesome. Big brother, what should we do now? We can't be trapped here forever. The 2 of you should leave the Sky Martial Continent first. No. Just as Longao finished speaking, Xiling and Long Chong rejected at the same time. Xiling said unhappily, if we leave together. If we stay together. Longao, if you say such things again, the 2 of us will cut ties with you. Big sister Xiling is right. Big brother, if you say such things again, I will also cut ties with you. He shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Longao said helplessly, Xiling, Long Chong, the current situation is very unfavorable for us. If this goes on, we will probably be trapped in the Sky Martial Continent forever. I don't care, but the Empire. Longao did not continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. How could Xiling and Long Chong not understand the meaning in Longao's words? Knowing was one thing, and dealing with it was another. The current situation was very unfavorable for the 3 of them. They could not force their way in, nor could they use their wits. What should they do? No matter what, Xiling and Long Chong had already decided that no matter what happened, they would not leave Longao alone. The 2 of you, leave the Sky Martial Continent first and return to the Soaring Dragon Empire. Help me take care of it. No. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Xiling continued, Longao, I just said that Long Chong and I won't leave you. You should think of another way to smoothly leave the Martial Heaven Continent. Listen to me. Longao was very touched. Longao helplessly said, the current situation is very unfavorable for us, so if we want to smoothly leave the Sky Martial Continent, I'm afraid it won't be an easy task. Xiling didn't say anything, and neither did Long Chong. Of course, the 2 of them knew how serious the situation was. I've thought of a good idea. You should leave the Martial Heaven Continent and return to the Empire. That way, I trust the 6 of them won't stop you. Xiling and Long Chong both nodded. If the two of them were to leave alone, the six of them would definitely not stop them unless there was something wrong with their head. There was no doubt about that. What did Longao mean? Once you leave the martial heaven continent, I will decompose the primal chaos 9-colored lotus in my body. As long as you help me within 100 years, I have 100% confidence that I can break out of my cocoon. So it was like that. Others might not know what the primal chaos 9-colored lotus represented, but that didn't mean that Xiling and Long Chong didn't know. The two of them were truly shocked. That was because Longao had merged with the primal chaos 9-colored lotus. That meant that Longao had a true undying body. As long as the primal chaos 9-colored lotus wasn't destroyed, Longao wouldn't die. It was easy to imagine. Just how powerful was the primal chaos 9-colored lotus in Longao's body? If Longao hadn't personally said it, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Big brother, will there be any danger in decomposing the primal chaos 9-colored lotus? This was the key point. Of course there will be danger, but I have already merged with the primal chaos 9-colored lotus. I have a true undying body. Although decomposing the primal chaos 9-colored lotus is dangerous, as long as you can find my real body within 100 years, I will be fine. Hearing the word danger, Xiling and Long Chong's expressions changed. The two of them were very clear that although Longao's words sounded so simple, they were afraid that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Big brother, I want to ask, if we can't find your location within 100 years, what will happen to you? I will be sealed by the primal chaos 9-colored lotus. At that time, Longao didn't continue. If Xiling and Long Chong couldn't find his real body within 100 years and were sealed by the primal chaos 9-colored lotus, even he didn't know what would happen. However, there was one thing that Longao was sure of. No matter what happened, he wouldn't die. Longao, how can we find your location within 100 years? If they could find him with 100% certainty, then there wouldn't be any problems. Now, Xiling and Long Chong were only worried about one thing. If they couldn't find Longao's location within 100 years, then things would be very troublesome. Later, you will absorb the primordial spirit aura in my body. Within 100 years, as long as my primal chaos 9-colored lotus awakens, it will begin to release its aura. At that time, you can rely on my primordial spirit aura to locate my primal chaos 9-colored lotus. There shouldn't be any problems. Having said that, Xiling and Long Chong were still very worried. It was better to be safe than sorry. If the two of them and Longao were unlucky, then things would be troublesome. Xiling was still worried. She helplessly said, Longao, although you didn't say it clearly, I'm very clear that once you break apart the primal chaos 9-colored lotus, we won't be able to rely on your primordial spirit aura to lock onto your location. You'll be in great danger. How about this? We can think of other methods. There's no need to do this. Big sister Xiling is right. Big brother, there's no need for us to do this. In any case, we're already so close to the entrance. I don't believe that the six of them can guard the entrance at any time. As long as we seize the opportunity, we'll be able to smoothly leave the martial heaven continent. How could Long Chong not understand what Longao and Xiling were thinking? This was also why he felt so helpless. Although they were only 100 meters away from the entrance, the six of them definitely wouldn't give up. They would definitely guard the entrance. If the three of them wanted to leave the martial heaven continent, it would be very difficult. Xiling and Long Chong wouldn't have any problems, but Long Chong was the only one. After all, the six of them had come up with a plan to deal with him, not Xiling and Long Chong. Thinking about it, Longao decided to take a risk. If he didn't have the empire, then it wouldn't matter how long he was trapped here. At worst, he could just cultivate in seclusion in the Primal Chaos Hall. Once he refined the Primal Chaos Tablet and became the ruler of the starry sky, he trusted that the six of them wouldn't be able to trap him. However, the current situation was different. He didn't know when the Empire would be locked onto, so he didn't dare to gamble. He couldn't gamble. He couldn't afford to lose. Chapter 2672. Xiling and Long Chong were still extremely worried. Long Ao's method was truly dangerous. If they were the slightest bit careless, the consequences would be unimaginable. Long Ao, I don't quite agree with your method. The two of us still support it. Let's think of a way to smoothly leave the Martial Heaven continent. How could Long Ao not know about the two people's worries? However, he had already made up his mind. No matter what, he wouldn't change it. His expression was resolute. Long Ao smiled. This matter is decided. I trust that you'll definitely be able to find my true body within 100 years. Xiling seemed to want to say something, but Long Chong shook his head. Whether it was Xiling or Long Chong, they both knew that Long Ao's character was like this. Once he decided on something, he wouldn't change it so easily. They could only choose to compromise. An hour later, Xiling and Long Chong left the Primal Chaos Hall. As soon as they appeared, they were surrounded by the God Diviner and the other 5. They were very surprised. Where's Long Ao? Long Chong was furious. It was precisely because of these 6 people that his big brother had been unable to smoothly leave the Martial Heaven continent. He had been forced to take the risk of decomposing the Primal Chaos 9-colored lotus. However, in this situation, he had to endure. He and his big sister Xiling had to smoothly leave the Martial Heaven continent and return to the Soaring Dragon Empire. They couldn't let anything happen to the Empire. The two of us are leaving. Hearing Xiling's words, the God Diviner and the others grew even more curious. They didn't know what Xiling was thinking. Why did he want the two of them to leave so quickly? It was a bit strange. According to normal circumstances, how could Xiling and Long Chong so easily choose to leave by themselves? There was definitely something fishy going on. Yidogu sneered. Could it be that the two of you want to leave just like that? Do you think you can stop us? Not wanting to waste any more words, Xiling and Long Chong turned and left. Stop them? Or would he choose to let them leave? The 6 of them looked extremely gloomy. If it had been anyone else, the 6 of them would have definitely tried to stop them or even kill them. However, Xiling and Long Chong did not. Whether it was Violet Spirit or Long Chong, they were both genuine rulers of the universe. The 6 of them were not fools. Even if the 6 of them joined forces, they would only be able to suppress 2 of them at most. It would be extremely difficult to completely stop the 2 of them. Father, what should we do? Master God Diviner's expression grew more and more unsightly. At this moment, Tiandao suddenly said, Our main target this time is Long Ao, not Xiling and Long Chong. If we force our way in, I'm afraid we'll give Long Ao a chance to escape. Long Ao? The godly mathematician and the others were not fools. Xiling and Long Chong suddenly wanted to leave the Martial Sky continent alone. They would not believe that there was nothing fishy about it. Tiandao is right. Our main target is Long Ao, not Xiling and Long Chong. Perhaps they are doing this on purpose so that we can stop them. On purpose. The others agreed with Tiandao and Long Mie's intentions. The godly mathematician nodded. We'll keep a close eye on Long Ao. Xiling and Long Chong can leave. A short while later, Xiling and Long Chong left the Martial Sky continent as quickly as possible. Looking at the continent behind them, the 2 of them were very worried. Neither of them knew if they could lock onto Long Ao's aura within 100 years. It was really unknown. Sister Xiling, what should we do now? Wait. Long Chong was very curious. He didn't know what Sister Xiling was thinking. Xiling sighed deeply inside. She helplessly said, I have no idea what will happen once Long Ao dissolves the Primal Chaos 9-colored lotus in his body. However, my intuition tells me that it won't be so simple. Long Chong was very worried. Hearing Xiling's words, he became even more worried. No matter what, since we've already left, we should return to the Empire as quickly as possible. No matter what happens, we have to find Longao within 100 years. Otherwise, at this point, Violet's spirit did not continue, but the meaning of her words was very clear. No matter how worried Long Chong was, things had already come to this. He knew that this was the only thing he could do. His only hope now was to wait for his big brother to break down the primal chaos 9-colored lotus flower in his body. Then, he and Sister Violet's spirit would be able to smoothly find his big brother within 100 years. Xiling and Long Chong didn't continue to hesitate. They quickly turned and left in the direction of the soaring dragon empire. In a short while, the two of them disappeared without a trace. Martial Sky Continent. The 6 of them waited until Xiling and Long Chong left. They became even more cautious. Now that the 2 of them had left, only Longao was left. This meant that it would be easier to deal with him than before. If they still couldn't kill Longao, then the 6 of them might as well die. At this moment, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. Looking at the 6 of them, he smiled. It seems the 6 of you really aren't willing to give up. I'll give you a word of advice. It's best if you give up. You think the 6 of you can keep me here with just the 6 of you? The 6 of them weren't the slightest bit angry. Instead, they smiled. Longao, there's no need to be so quick with your words. Whether or not we can kill you isn't up to you, nor is it up to us. You're just relying on your spatial divine item. If you have the ability, fight us fair and square. You can choose any one of us. As long as you win, you can leave the Martial Sky Continent. What do you think? Do you not dare? Shameless. The 6 of them were rulers of the starry sky, yet they were so shameless. Longao couldn't even be bothered to mock them. Shaking his head, Longao didn't want to waste any more words. He knew that only when the 6 of them were least prepared would he be able to disintegrate the primal chaos 9-colored lotus. What is he doing? The 6 of them were curious to see Longao's strange actions. They didn't know what Longao was planning. A lotus flower appeared in front of Longao. It had 9 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, blue, violet, black, and white. Each of the 9 colors represented a single petal. This was the 9-petal lotus flower. The 6 of them instantly realized that Longao wanted to use this divine item to deal with the 6 of them. They sneered. They didn't place Longao in their eyes at all. They didn't know whether Longao was crazy or not. He wanted to use this divine item to deal with 6 rulers of the starry sky. Chapter 26:73. And the result? Just as the 6 thought that Longao was going to use the divine weapon to deal with them, the situation suddenly changed. The chaotic 9-colored lotus floating in front of Longao suddenly began to spin crazily, and the spinning speed became faster and faster. In the end, even the shadow of the chaotic 9-colored lotus could not be seen. What was Longao trying to do? The 6 were a little curious. They didn't know why. The 6 didn't attack at this time. Instead, they stared fixedly at Longao because they wanted to see what Longao was going to do. There was another reason. The 6 didn't know what Longao was trying to do. If they acted rashly and something unexpected happened, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. If it were anyone else, the 6 certainly wouldn't have been so afraid. Except for Longao. This fearless variable could infuriate them time and time again. Split. Just as the chaotic 9-colored lotus flower reached its limit, Longao suddenly said the word split. Not good. Longao is going to self-destruct his primordial spirit? Self-destruct his primordial spirit? The 6 rulers of the starry sky were completely stunned when they saw Longao release his primordial spirit. It was obvious that he was going to blow up his primordial spirit. They had never thought that Longao would choose to blow up his primordial spirit. The self-destruction of one's primordial spirit would not even give one the chance to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Unless it was a last resort, no one would casually choose to self-destruct their primordial spirit. What was going on with Longao? They couldn't figure it out. They really couldn't figure it out. Under normal circumstances, Longao had the divine weapon of space. Even they wouldn't be able to lock onto this divine weapon. As long as Longao hid in the divine weapon, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Longao was hiding in a spatial cosmic deity artifact. He could completely refine the primal chaos tablet. If he couldn't do it in 1 year, he could do it in 10 years. If 10 years weren't enough, he could do it in 10,000 years. With Longao's talent, he would definitely be able to refine the primal chaos tablet and become a cosmic ruler. If Longao really did become a ruler of space, then even they wouldn't be able to stop Longao. Could it be that Longao didn't get the tablet? After much thought, they could only come up with this possibility. If Longao really did devour the tablet, there was no need for him to self-destruct his primordial spirit. Even so, the six still couldn't figure it out. Apart from the divine weapon of space, Longao had two rulers of space. No matter how they looked at it, Longao shouldn't have chosen to self-destruct his primordial spirit. What the hell is Longao doing? Even though they had seen it with their own eyes, the six of them didn't care about Longao's life or death. They only cared about one thing, and that was everything on Longao. Whether it was the divine weapon or something else, they were all very useful to these rulers of space. If Longao's primordial spirit self-destructed, these things might disappear with Longao. They might even fall off. Everything depended on luck. Regarding Longao's primordial spirit self-destruction, the six of them didn't try to stop it. This was because Longao was already a peak universe immortal. Moreover, he had many secrets. The six of them didn't know how powerful Longao's primordial spirit self-destruction would be. If there wasn't something fishy, why would Longao choose to self-destruct his primordial spirit for no reason? Primordial spirit self-destruction, complete destruction. The primordial 9-colored lotus in front of Longao split into 9 petals in the blink of an eye. The 9 colors began to devour Longao's primordial spirit. In a few short seconds, Longao's primordial spirit was completely devoured. As for his body, it entered one of the petals. Attack. The six of them finally felt that something was wrong. If Longao's primordial spirit had self-destructed, how could this have happened? First, Xiling and Longchong had left by themselves. Then, Longao had chosen to self-destruct his primordial spirit. This in itself didn't make sense. Now that they thought about it, the only explanation was that Longao was preparing to leave the Martial Sky continent. Now that Xiling and Longchong weren't here, it was the best time to get rid of Longao. How could the six of them let Longao leave so easily? However, it was too late now. If the six of them had attacked with their full strength at the beginning, they might have been able to stop Longao. However, the six of them were apprehensive at the beginning. How could they act so easily? At this moment, Longao was gone. Only the 9-petal lotus was left. Before the six of them could react, the 9-petal lotus had turned into 9 stars and disappeared in different directions. The six of them wanted to chase, but they were helpless to find that even they couldn't lock onto the 9 stars that had just disappeared. They were helpless. They had thought that this plan would succeed, especially after Xiling and Longchong had left. However, they had never imagined that this would happen. In the end, Longao had still left. They were furious and unwilling. What do you think we should do? The heavenly Tao was furious to the extreme. The 6 rulers of the starry sky had joined forces, but they hadn't been able to successfully kill Longao. Not to mention how they would lose face if this matter were to spread out. The 6 of them couldn't get over it. It was a disgrace, a great humiliation. If they hadn't experienced it themselves, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Even now, the 6 of them still couldn't figure out what Longao's last move was all about. Why had he turned into 9 stars and left at the same time, and why they couldn't lock onto him? Master Godly Mathematician was also helpless. After this incident, he was more and more certain that Longao was a variable that made people wary. At present, Longao was only a peak starry sky immortal expert. Once his cultivation base improved and he became a half-step starry sky ruler, or Longao was lucky enough to devour a primal chaos tablet and refine it to become a starry sky ruler, would the 6 of them be able to contend against him? It was hard to say. If it had been any other starry sky ruler, they wouldn't have worried at all, unless it was a starry sky ruler who had mastered the power of primal chaos. Only Longao made Master Godly Mathematician feel a trace of helplessness and fear. The 4 of you have seen Longao's variable. I believe you should also know what this means. I won't say any more nonsense. From now on, the 6 of us must join forces. No matter what happens, we must find a way to get rid of Longao. Otherwise, once Longao grows stronger, the 6 of us will be in big trouble. How could the 4 of them not know what Master Godly Mathematician was talking about? However, knowing was one thing, and wanting to do it was another. This time, they had failed to kill Longao. In the future, if they wanted to trap Longao and kill him, it wouldn't be so easy. Letting the tiger return to the mountain will cause endless trouble in the future. We may not have a chance in the future. Chapter 26-74. The key is still in the Soaring Dragon Empire. The 6 of them knew very well that Longao's fate had already been decided. It would be difficult to deal with Longao directly. If they could lock onto the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire and control his family, then Longao would be meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. But what about the current situation? Thinking of locking onto the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire, the 6 of them felt endless helplessness and depression. Among the 6 of them, the Divine Mathematician's calculation ability was the strongest. No matter what, the Divine Mathematician had swallowed the Divine Calculation Chaos Tablet. According to normal circumstances, it shouldn't be difficult for the Divine Mathematician to calculate the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire. But the result? For hundreds of years, the Divine Mathematician had never succeeded. According to the Divine Mathematician, if he wanted to calculate the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire, he had to be able to grasp the chaos power in the Divine Calculation Chaos Tablet. However, if he could really grasp the chaos power in the Chaos Tablet, would he still need to control the Soaring Dragon Empire? It was complete nonsense. Divine Mathematician, other than mastering the chaos power, do you really have no other way to lock onto the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire? Not only the heavens, even the others were afraid. Longao's performance was a little unbelievable. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have believed it. Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, forever eliminating future troubles. Longao's variables were too great, especially with his fate fixed. Who knew what would happen in the future if they didn't kill Longao? The Divine Mathematician's expression changed again and again. After thinking for a while, he said, "Other than mastering the chaos power, there are other ways." Hearing the Divine Mathematician's words, the other 4, including Yi Dugu, were pleasantly surprised. Because the 5 of them were very clear about what it meant to lock onto the Soaring Dragon Empire. The Soaring Dragon Empire was Longao's weakness. Once he controlled the Soaring Dragon Empire, no matter what he wanted Longao to do, he wouldn't dare to say a word. What method was it? The Divine Mathematician's expression was very solemn. When the 5 of them saw the expression on the Divine Mathematician's face, they already knew that something bad was going to happen. If this method was easy, the Divine Mathematician wouldn't have waited until now. They believed that he would have already begun to lock onto the location of the Soaring Dragon Empire. Divine Mathematician, speak. The 4 of them sighed helplessly. Now that things had come to this point, they were prepared to help Master God Diviner no matter what. This method is actually very simple. I just need to use my Divine Divination Chaos Tablet to lock on. This way, I have a 99% chance of successfully locking on. He was very curious. Master God Diviner had already devoured the God Divining Chaos Tablet, so of course he could use the God Divining Chaos Tablet. What was going on? Seeing their curiosity, Master God Diviner went on to say, "You four may not know this, but although I can use the God Divining Chaos Tablet, my situation is the same as yours. I cannot use the power of the tablet." So that was the case. This was the most fundamental difference between those who grasped chaotic force and those who did not. It was a little ridiculous. Master God Diviner's intention was to use the power of the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. In other words, the so-called Primal Chaos Stone Tablet was the same as not saying anything. Master God Diviner didn't mind at all when he saw that the four of them were a bit dissatisfied. He said, "It's a bit impossible to truly control the power of Primal Chaos, but we can borrow power from the outside. Let me continue to touch the Primal Chaos Tablet. Perhaps my divination abilities will improve." So that was the case. The four of them instantly understood what Master God Diviner meant. If it were anyone else, the four of them definitely wouldn't help Master God Diviner. What a joke! What if they helped Master God Diviner continuously touch the Primal Chaos Tablets? If Master God Diviner's luck was good and he accidentally touched the power of Primal Chaos and completely mastered it? Wouldn't that be a loss? But now the situation was completely different. Longao was too unpredictable, especially since his fate was already set. They had to kill Longao in the shortest time possible. For this, they were willing to help Master God Diviner. Actually, in their hearts, they still had some confidence. After all, they had also devoured the Primal Chaos Tablets, so they knew that even if they helped Master God Diviner touch more Primal Chaos Tablets, Master God Diviner still wouldn't be able to control the power of Primal Chaos. There was no doubt about that. Master God Diviner, since that's the case, let's immediately lock on. Since they already had a plan, the four of them couldn't wait any longer. The sooner they locked on to the Soaring Dragon Empire's position and killed Longao, the sooner they could be at ease. As long as Longao was still alive, their hearts would not be at ease. Master God Diviner shook his head helplessly and said, "No. No?" The four of them were completely enraged. Master God Diviner had said that as long as they gave their all, it wouldn't be difficult to lock on to the Soaring Dragon Empire's position. But now, Master God Diviner said no. Was he playing with them? How could they not be angry? But before the four of them could speak, Master God Diviner continued, "Just the 5 of you helping me won't be enough. Unless you double your strength, then we'll be able to touch the Primal Chaos Tablet. My divination ability will improve, and I'll be able to lock on to the Soaring Dragon Empire's position." Master God Diviner was very excited. Under normal circumstances, with 5 rulers of stars helping him, it would be more than enough. But Master God Diviner had other plans. If he could get 5 more rulers of stars to help him, then he would have a total of 10 rulers of stars. If that was really the case, then not only would his divination ability improve, he might even be able to control the power of Primal Chaos in the Primal Chaos Tablet. Locking on to the Soaring Dragon Empire and killing Longao was important, but compared to the power of Primal Chaos, it seemed a little inadequate. Master God Diviner also knew very well that this kind of opportunity would not come a second time. It would be difficult to rely on other methods to obtain the power of Primal Chaos. This opportunity must not be given up easily. Tiandao was very helpless and said, "It's easier said than done to find the other 5 rulers of stars. Besides the few of us, Xiling and Long Chong, there are at most 4 rulers of stars. They may not help us. Master God Diviner, your method is indeed a little unlikely. If it had been in the past, it would have been impossible, But the situation now was completely different. As long as we can persuade 2 rulers of stars, plus Yun Lu and the other 2, then we can gather 10 rulers of stars to help me. I'm very confident that my divination ability will improve further, and locking on to the soaring dragon empire will be a piece of cake. Yun Lu and the other 2? Tian Dao and the other 2 already knew the identity and strength of Yun Lu and the other 2. Chapter 2675. They were very shocked. Because of Yun Lu's identity, everyone knew. But they never thought that Yun Lu had actually hidden his strength. Not only was he a Starry Sky ruler, but the 2 elders under him were also Starry Sky rulers. The 4 of them knew very well what 3 Starry Sky rulers meant. It could be said that, in the vast Starry Sky, the most powerful person was definitely the white-clothed girl. The mysterious and powerful white-clothed girl had defeated the divine mathematician with one move. From this, it could be seen how powerful the white-clothed girl was. Next was Yun Lu and the other 2. After all, Yun Lu had 3 Starry Sky rulers on his side. This kind of strength was not just for show. He sighed helplessly. At this time, Long Ming said, "Divine mathematician, Yun Lu and the other 2 may not help us." "Not necessarily." Longao broke down the Chaos 9-colored lotus in his body, turning it into 9-petaled lotus stars, scattered all over the vast starry sky. Now, Longao's primordial spirit had been swallowed by the Chaos 9-colored lotus. In other words, Longao had lost his consciousness. Whether he could gather his primordial spirit depended on whether Xiling and Long Chong could find him within 100 years. If they found him, then everything would be fine. If they couldn't find him, Longao would probably be sealed by the Chaos 9-colored lotus. Self-sealing. Although he had fused with the Chaos 9-colored lotus and achieved the so-called immortal body, he could be sealed by the Chaos 9-colored lotus. If he was really sealed by the Chaos 9-colored lotus, who knew how many years it would take for Longao to break the seal? Unless it was a last resort, Longao would not easily choose to do this. It was a gamble. If he won the gamble, he could smoothly leave the Sky Martial continent. If he lost the gamble, he would be sealed by the Chaos 9-colored lotus. But for the Empire, Longao finally chose to go all out. Soaring Dragon Empire. Long Chong and Xiling had successfully returned to the Soaring Dragon Empire. The 2 of them were very worried about Longao because according to Longao, they had to lock onto Longao's aura within 100 years. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. "Sister Xiling, when are we going to locate Big Brother?" Long Chong couldn't wait any longer because he didn't know if his big brother would be sealed after disintegrating the 9-colored lotus. The sooner they locked onto Big Brother's position, the more advantageous it would be for Big Brother. Time was precious. Xiling was worried as well, but there were some things that even she couldn't do anything about. He sighed deeply in his heart. Xiling looked at Long Chong in front of him and said helplessly, "Longao already told me that the Chaos 9-colored lotus flower can only release its aura after 50 years. Then we have to wait for 50 years? That's right. No matter how anxious we are, we have to wait for 50 years. Otherwise, if we go out now, we won't be able to help Longao at all." He was very anxious. However, Long Chong was very clear in his heart that no matter how anxious he was, it was useless. The most important thing was that he could help his big brother. 50 years. In other words, he and Sister Xiling only had 50 years to lock onto each other. Xiling seemed to be able to guess Long Chong's worries. She said, "Long Chong, you don't have to worry too much. Longao's luck has always been very good. I believe that this time will be no exception." Yes, Sister Xiling is right. Big Brother's luck has always been good. This time, he will definitely be able to turn danger into safety. Although the 2 of them said so, it would be a lie to say that they weren't worried under such circumstances. It was self-comforting. 50 years was nothing to starry sky cultivators. Some starry sky cultivators would cultivate in seclusion for tens of thousands of years, or even tens of millions of years. However, the current situation was completely different. 50 years was too short for Xiling and Longchang. They couldn't afford to waste any time. No one knew what had happened in the Tianwu continent. Xiling and Longchang didn't want the people of the empire to know. Of course, they wouldn't reveal this matter. As for the oracle and the other 5, they definitely wouldn't reveal such a shameful matter. If this matter were to spread, it would definitely cause a sensation in the vast starry sky. 6 rulers of the starry sky working together failed to kill Longao. Regardless of Longao's strength, this matter alone was enough to show disdain for the vast starry sky. No one had ever done it before. 50 years passed in the blink of an eye. On the 51st year, Xiling and Longchang couldn't wait any longer. They immediately left the soaring dragon empire and began to lock onto Longao's position in the vast starry sky. They hoped to locate Longao as soon as possible. Whether it was Xiling or Longchang, they both had extraordinary status in the soaring dragon empire. No one cared about them at all. It was precisely because of this. Xiling and Longchang left the soaring dragon empire. No one, not even Bai Ling, knew about it. Although 50 years had passed, no one in the soaring dragon empire knew about the Tianwu continent and Longao. It was still the same sentence. 50 years was nothing to these starry sky cultivators. Every time Longao left the empire, he would not return for at least hundreds of years. So no one thought that something would happen to Longao. After Xiling and Longchang left the soaring dragon empire, they relied on the primordial spirits that Longao had left for them to constantly lock onto Longao's position. However, it was extremely difficult to rely on the primordial spirits to lock onto a person's position. Time was too tight. They only had 50 years. No matter what, they couldn't let anything happen to Longao. So they had to rely on the primordial spirits to lock onto Longao's position within 50 years. Sister Xiling, the vast starry sky is boundless. According to Big Brother, if we decompose the chaotic 9-colored lotus, Big Brother's primordial spirit will be swallowed by the 9-petaled lotus. No matter which primordial spirit we find, it can help Big Brother to reform his primordial spirit. How could Xiling not know about Longchang's worries? This was also what Xiling was worried about. The vast starry sky was boundless. Not to mention relying on the primordial spirits to lock onto a person's position, it was impossible to even lock onto a person's position. Not to mention the 2 of them, even the divine mathematician couldn't do it. But fortunately, they had the aura of Longao's primordial spirit. At least there was some hope. If they didn't have the aura of a primordial spirit, they would have chosen to give up directly. There was no need to continue searching. Longchang, I know that it is indeed difficult to lock onto Longao's position with just the primordial spirits, but we have no other choice. We have to rely on the primordial spirits to lock onto Longao's position within 50 years. Otherwise, once Longao is sealed by the chaotic 9-colored lotus, not to mention us, even if Tsonglin, the ruler of the starry sky, who controls the power of chaos, wakes up, we will have no hope. Chapter 2676. Longchang, of course, knew what Xiling meant. In this situation, they had to race against time. The longer they delayed, the worse it would be for their big brother. The more it was like this, the more anxious Longchang became. Without any hesitation, Xiling and Longchang immediately began to lock onto a large scale. However, it was difficult to lock onto a person's position with just one's aura. Even so, they did not choose to give up. Time flew by. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, 30 years had passed. What did this mean? In other words, there were less than 20 years left to lock onto Longao's position. If they could not lock onto Longao's position within 20 years, the consequences would be unimaginable. As time passed, Xiling and Long Chong became more and more anxious, because the two of them really did not have the slightest bit of confidence whether or not they could lock onto Long Ao's position within 20 years. It was better to be safe than sorry. If they and Long Ao were unlucky and could not lock onto Long Ao's position within 20 years, there was nothing they could do. What should they do? The third plane, which was the headquarters of the Third Starry Sky Empire. Xiling and Long Chong did not separate to lock onto Long Chong because they knew very well that if they did it alone, not only would they not be able to shorten the time, but they would also lose more than they could gain. Back then, Long Ao's primordial spirit could only be distributed to one person. Even if the two were willing to separate, it was impossible. Sister Xiling, we can't go on like this. With regards to Long Chong's worries, how could Violet's spirit not know? It would be a lie to say that she was not worried. She sighed deeply. Xiling looked at the endless starry sky in front of her, and said helplessly, Long Chong, the starry sky is too big. It's boundless. We can't lock onto every place. Let alone 50 years, even 50 million years is not enough. Time was nothing in this situation. Sister Xiling, think of a way. What should we do? The more it was like this, the more worried Long Chong became. For a moment, Long Chong didn't know what to do. Let's go back to the Soaring Dragon Empire. Long Chong was completely shocked, because he never thought that at this time, Sister Xiling would suddenly want to return to the Soaring Dragon Empire. What did Sister Xiling mean by this? Sister Xiling, are you going to give up? Long Chong didn't get angry because he knew very well that with the relationship between Xiling's sister and his brother, he wouldn't believe that Xiling's sister would give up on his brother. If that was the case, why did Sister Xiling choose to do this? There was definitely something fishy going on. Long Chong, as you said before, if it were the two of us, do you think we could lock onto Long Ao's position with just a little bit of our soul aura? He shook his head. Although he didn't want to accept it, the truth was the truth. The two of them didn't have much time left, they had to lock onto their brother's position within 20 years. If they couldn't lock onto their brother's position within 20 years, they would be in big trouble. Seeing that Long Chong didn't speak, Xiling continued, instead of waiting for an opportunity, why don't we create one? As expected, Long Chong knew that Sister Xiling wouldn't leave his brother alone, so he asked curiously, Sister Xiling, what should we do now? It's simple, we'll return to the Soaring Dragon Empire now and find Long Tuesday. Long Chong wasn't a fool. He instantly understood what Sister Xiling meant. Currently, there were two half-step Starry Sky Dominators in the Soaring Dragon Empire. One was Miao Ling the other was Long Tu, the ancestor of the Dragon Clan at the peak. However, the current leader of the Dragon Clan wasn't Long Tu, but Yu Bubi. The biggest reason why Long Tu could stay in the Soaring Dragon Empire was because of Tsong Lin's help, which allowed Long Ao to subdue Long Tuesday. In other words, now that Long Ao and Long Tu had some kind of connection, if Long Tu relied on this trace of primordial spirit aura, he might be able to lock onto Long Ao's position. This was Xiling's method. Violet's spirit and Long Chong were not completely confident that this method would work. However, under such circumstances, the two of them had no choice but to do so. After all, doing so was better than aimlessly locking on to the target. The two of them didn't hesitate at all. The two of them returned to the Soaring Dragon Empire as quickly as possible, but from the beginning to the end, the two of them didn't tell anyone about Long Ao, including Long Haosher, Yu Yin, and the others. Of course, the two of them knew that Long Ao was most worried about the Empire, so they couldn't let the people of the Empire worry about this. Senior Xiling, Senior Long Chong, I wonder why you're looking for me? Long Tu was very curious. He didn't know why the two of them were looking for him. Although he was a half-step Starry Sky Dominator, in front of the two Starry Sky Dominators, he was no different from an ant, because a Starry Sky Dominator could kill a half-step Starry Sky Dominator in a matter of minutes. The gap between the two of them was too big, and they weren't on the same level at all. Xiling didn't hide anything, and roughly told him what had happened in the Tianwu continent. The more Long Tu listened, the more helpless and angry he felt. However, Long Tu couldn't do anything, because even he couldn't intervene in the enmity between the 6 Starry Sky Dominators and his master. Long Tu was getting better and better. He didn't know why the 2 Starry Sky Dominators, Xiling and Long Chong, were looking for him. Did they want him to deal with the 6 Starry Sky Dominators? It seemed a little ridiculous, after all, his strength was there. Not to mention dealing with the 6 Starry Sky Dominators, it was impossible for him to deal with any one of them. Xiling certainly knew what Long Tu was thinking. He said, "Long Tu, you don't have to say much about your relationship with Longao. I have a trace of Longao's primordial spirit aura left behind when he decomposed the chaotic 9-colored lotus. Long Chong and I want to rely on this trace of primordial spirit aura to locate Longao, but you're different. According to our guess, if you take action, the success rate is much higher than ours." Long Tu certainly didn't want anything to happen to Longao, because if something happened to Longao, it wouldn't be good for him, and he might even die with him. "Senior Xiling, Senior Long Chong, please tell me what to do. As long as I can do it, I'll do it, no matter what it is." Xiling and Long Chong certainly knew that Long Tu wouldn't refuse. Xiling didn't hesitate at all, and roughly told Long Tu what to do. After listening, Long Tu didn't hesitate at all, and immediately began to prepare. Chapter 26-77. Under such circumstances, Dragon Slayer was their only chance. If even Dragon Slayer failed, Xiling and Long Chong really didn't know what to do. After all, it was almost impossible to lock onto a person's position in the vast starry sky with just a trace of the primordial spirit's aura. In the entire forbidden area at the back of the mountain, other than Xiling, Long Chong, and Dragon Slayer, there was no one else. Until this moment. In the soaring Dragon Empire, no one knew about Longao and the Tianwu continent. Dragon Slayer, let's begin. Dragon Slayer also knew the urgency of the matter. They only had less than 20 years, and they definitely couldn't waste any time. If he couldn't lock onto his master's position, he definitely couldn't waste Xiling and Long Chong's time. They only had 20 years. Time was of the essence. Dragon Slayer didn't hesitate at all and immediately began to sense. He slowly absorbed the trace of primordial spirit's aura left behind by Longao into his body and began to release his own aura. It began to gradually merge with his master's aura. Xiling and Long Chong stood nervously at the side. Both of them hoped that Dragon Slayer would succeed in one go. They didn't know if it was because they were too lucky, or it was because Dragon Slayer and Longao had a close relationship that he could succeed in one go. In just a few minutes, Dragon Slayer suddenly opened his eyes and said in surprise, "Seniors, I've successfully sensed where Master's primordial spirit's aura is." Hearing this, whether it was Xiling or Long Chong, they were extremely surprised. If they had known that Dragon Slayer could lock onto Longao's position so easily, the two of them wouldn't have wasted 30 years. Just thinking about it made them feel scared. "Dragon Slayer, where is Longao?" "Jianling Mountain." "Ah, Jianling Mountain?" Others might not know what Jianling Mountain was, but how could Xiling and Long Chong not know what Jianling Mountain was? They were very shocked because they didn't know that Longao was nowhere to be found, but in Jianling Mountain. They wouldn't believe that there was nothing fishy about this. No matter what it was, Xiling and Long Chong were not afraid as long as they could lock onto Longao. "Seniors, I'll go too. Let's go." Normally, Xiling and Long Chong wouldn't have allowed Dragonslayer to go there. Although Dragonslayer was a half-step Star Sky ruler, even a half-step Star Sky ruler was like an ant in front of a Star Sky ruler. The Dragon Slayer was of no use at all. But now, the situation was completely different. If the two of them went alone, they might not be able to lock onto Longao's position. It would be a wasted trip. However, it was different with the Dragon Slayer. No matter what, among the three of them, only Dragon Slayer could lock onto Longao's position by relying on the aura of his spirit. Because of this, when Xiling and Long Chong rushed to Jianling Mountain, they also took Dragon Slayer with them. With their speed, they could reach Jianling Mountain in a few minutes. However, when the three of them arrived at Jianling Mountain, they were stopped by Yun Lu and the other two. Yun Lu was very curious. He said with a smile, "Jianling, Long Chong, Dragon Slayer, why have you come to Jianling Mountain?" Today, Jianling Mountain was too important to Yun Lu. No matter who it was, even the two Star Sky rulers, they wouldn't allow anyone to casually step into Jianling Mountain. "Yun Lu, I have something important to do in Jianling Mountain. Get out of the way." Get out of the way? Was that possible? Yun He sneered and said, "Jianling, you're also a Star Sky ruler. I'm sure you know the rules between Star Sky rulers. We've already occupied Jianling Mountain, so you should stay away. If you insist on entering, you'll have to ask for our permission first." Who knew why Xiling and the other two had entered Jianling Mountain? If the three of them entered Jianling Mountain and ruined their plan, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Violet Spirit's face was very gloomy, as ugly as it could get. "Dragon Slayer, are you sure that Longao's spirit is in Jianling Mountain?" Unless it was absolutely necessary, Xiling didn't want to completely fall out with Yun Lu and the other two. After all, they were all Star Sky rulers and their strength was needless to say. Therefore, he used his spiritual sense to ask Dragon Slayer what was going on. "Senior Xiling, I'm 100% sure that the breath of Master's spirit is in Jianling Mountain. It's absolutely safe." Of course, Xiling chose to believe Dragon Slayer. Among the three of them, only Dragon Slayer could pinpoint Longao's location. Whether or not Longao's spirit was in Jianling Mountain, they had to try. He snorted coldly. Entering Jianling Mountain was a must. Jianling said coldly, "Yun Lu, I think you're confused. This is Jianling Mountain. It's always been my place of cultivation. How did it become yours?" Yun Lu laughed. Behind him, Yun He and Yun Tian laughed as well. Yun He continued, "Xiling, I think you're the one who's confused. Before you entered Jianling Mountain, this was the territory of the Pinnacle Mystery Clan. It's just that when you and Bai Ling entered Jianling Mountain, we didn't want to interfere. Do you really think that Jianling Mountain is your territory? How ridiculous." The Pinnacle Mystery Clan. It turned out that Yun Lu and the other two came from one of the 6 Pinnacle Mystery Clans, the Pinnacle Mystery Clan. From this, one could imagine how powerful the Pinnacle Mystery Clan was. Long Chong was very surprised, but Xiling and Dragon Slayer didn't seem surprised at all. It seemed that they already knew about Yun Lu's identity. If it were any other matter, they wouldn't be willing to fall out with the 3 Pinnacle Mystery Clans and the 3 Pinnacle Mystery Clans. After all, falling out with them wouldn't benefit them or the Soaring Dragon Empire. Longao already had too many enemies. There was no need for him to become enemies with the 3 Pinnacle Mystery Clans. Suppressing his anger, Xiling said, "Yun Lu, I know about your business. I have no interest in interfering. I came here this time for Longao. I hope you can step aside." The 3 Pinnacle Mystery Clans were startled. They already knew about the Martial Heaven continent. Decades ago, the God Diviner and the others had come looking for them. However, they hadn't agreed. It seemed that Xiling and Long Chong hadn't come to the Jianling Mountain to interfere with their business. They had come because of Longao. Yun Lu grew more and more curious. He didn't know why Xiling and Long Chong had come. He asked curiously, "Xiling, Longao hasn't stepped into the Jianling Mountain. If you don't believe me, I can swear on my Pinnacle Mystery Clan's reputation. What do you think?" How could Zi Ling tell Yun Lu the truth? It was a complete joke. For this kind of thing, the fewer people who knew, the better. It was the most beneficial for Longao. Otherwise, if Yun Lu and the other two knew, who knew what would happen? Chapter 2678. If he didn't say anything, he would be in big trouble. Yun Lu and the other two wouldn't back down, because they weren't sure why Xiling and the other two had come this time. Longao wasn't on Jianling Mountain, anyway. As for Xiling and the other two, they had to go to Jianling Mountain. The sooner they found Longao's primordial spirit, the sooner they could be at ease. Get out of the way. Although Yun Lu and the other two didn't say anything, they didn't back down, which explained everything. Dragon Slayer stepped back. The reason was simple. Ordinary people couldn't interfere in a battle between star rulers, not even a half-step star ruler. Seeing that Xiling and Long Chong really wanted to fight, Yun Lu and the other two were furious. They didn't want to fight casually, especially in the current situation. Once they started fighting, it would be very unfavorable for them. If they didn't fight, were they supposed to let the three enter Jianling Mountain? If Xiling and the other two had other motives, they were afraid that all their efforts would be for naught. It was hard to choose. Xiling, are you sure you want to fight? I just said that I'm not interested in interfering in your affairs. I'm here mainly because of Longao. Believe it or not. Under normal circumstances, a star ruler shouldn't lie, but this was a matter of great importance. He couldn't be careless. What should he do? His expression changed again. In the end. Xiling, I hope what you just said is true. Otherwise, if you interfere in my affairs, we'll never rest until one of us is dead. Don't worry. I, Xiling, am not as shameless as the oracle. Yun Lu had a headache. It seemed that because of Longao, Xiling and the oracle were in a situation where one of them had to die. Otherwise, Xiling wouldn't have said something like that so casually. Yun Lu didn't want to interfere with the oracle and Longao's affairs. He didn't before, and he certainly didn't now. Yun'er side, the fact that Longao had two starry sky rulers by his side and Luo Yunyang's side meant that he would be a fool if he interfered. Yun Lu couldn't wait for both sides to suffer. At that time, he would be able to sit back and reap the benefit. In any case, Song Lin was already heavily injured. Even if she didn't die, it would be very difficult for her to completely recover. Yun Lu and the other two stepped aside. Zi Ling and the other two did not hesitate in the slightest and immediately entered in a single file. Yun Lu, I said earlier that I will not touch the entrance of the passageway. You can guard that place. As for the other places, please do not follow me. Otherwise, I will not rest until I die. They would not rest until they were dead. A starry sky sovereign's relentless pursuit was still very intimidating. Even Yun Lu was extremely apprehensive. Chief, are we really going to let Xiling and the other two enter Jianling Mountain? Yun He and Yun Tian were still a little worried because Xiling and Long Chong were too powerful. If they were to intervene in this matter, wouldn't everything they had done be in vain? That was precisely why. The two of them really couldn't figure out what was going on with the chief. Why would he let Xiling and the other two enter Jianling Mountain? Even if there was a war, why would they need to fear Xiling and Long Chong? Xiling and Long Chong were only two people, and Long Chong was almost negligible. On the other hand, they had three people on their side. In terms of numbers, they had an absolute advantage. What was the chief thinking? They couldn't figure it out. Although they couldn't figure it out, the chief had already made his decision. Yun He and Yun Tian would not stop him. This is a very important time for us. There is no need to fight to the death with Xiling and Long Chong. If we start a war because of us, the marvelous mathematician and the others will have an opportunity to take advantage of us. The gains won't make up for the losses. Yun He and Yun Tian were not fools. Of course, they understood the chief's meaning. It was precisely because of this that they were even more surprised. Chief, do you mean that the marvelous mathematician also wants to intervene in this matter? It was a little ridiculous. First, the marvelous mathematician did not know about this at all. Even if he knew, he would not dare to casually provoke the Peak Mysterious tribe. After all, the Peak Mysterious tribe's strength was obvious. Second, the most important thing for the marvelous mathematician now was to master the power of chaos. How could he completely fall out with the three of them? Wasn't the chief's worries a little too groundless? How could Yun Lu not know what the two elders were thinking? Under normal circumstances, this would be the case. However, the current situation was not normal. He knew the marvelous mathematician very well. He sighed deeply. Yun Lu looked at the Jianling mountain in front of him and said helplessly, I have dealt with the marvelous mathematician so many times in the past. I know his character very well. Now, I can't be sure if the marvelous mathematician already knows about this matter. However, we can't gamble. If the marvelous mathematician really knows about this, if we start a war with Xiling, won't the marvelous mathematician benefit for nothing? So that was it. The two elders finally understood what the patriarch was worried about. As the saying goes, it is better to be safe than sorry. They didn't want the three of them to fail at the last hurdle. They didn't want the divine mathematician to take advantage of others. Then what should we do now? Should we keep an eye on Xiling's group of three, or guard the entrance? Don't worry about them. As long as we guard the entrance, it'll be fine. My intuition tells me that Xiling and Long Chong didn't come for us or the entrance. They came for Longao. According to the marvelous mathematician and the others, during the battle on the Martial Heaven continent, Xiling and Long Chong left on their own, leaving only Longao on the continent. Do you think that's possible? It is a bit strange. The marvelous mathematician said that Longao had already left the Martial Heaven continent. However, how could Longao have managed to escape from 6 rulers of the starry sky? My guess is that even if the Longao was able to leave the Martial Heaven continent, he must have paid a heavy price. Yun Lu and the others were not the only ones who had guessed this. Even the godly mathematician had guessed this. This was also the true reason why the godly mathematician and the others had been searching for Longao non-stop for the past 80 years. That's right. That's why there's even less need for us to interfere. Longao's fate has already been decided, and there's no need for us to interfere. Otherwise, it won't benefit us. This matter is our mission in the starry sky. As for other matters, as long as they have nothing to do with us, we won't interfere. Yes, Chief. The three of them didn't keep an eye on Xiling and Long Chong. Instead, they returned to the entrance. As long as the three of them didn't enter the entrance, the three of them wouldn't interfere. That was Yun Lu's bottom line. Xiling, Long Chong, and Long Tu had already entered the Jianling mountain. Jianling was very clear about the situation there. As soon as he entered, he asked, Long Tu, can you sense Longao's location? Chapter 2679. Dragon Slayer nodded. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately began to sense. Looking at Dragon Slayer's increasingly solemn expression, Xiling and Long Chong's expressions suddenly changed. Could it be that the situation had changed? They were very anxious, but Xiling and Long Chong did not say anything to stop him because they did not know what was going on. Time passed quickly. About an hour later, Dragon Slayer's figure suddenly smashed backward like a kite with a broken string. He was shocked. Long Chong was very fast. He took a step forward and arrived in front of the Dragon Slayer. Using his strength, he placed the Dragon Slayer firmly on the ground. Dragon Slayer, what happened? Did something happen to Big Brother? A bad premonition arose spontaneously. Xiling and Long Chong knew very well that if something had not happened to Longao, Dragon Slayer would not be like this. What was going on? They became more and more anxious. At this moment, Dragon Slayer's face was extremely pale, and the aura in his body was almost chaotic. He was very scared. Dragon Slayer seemed to have some difficulties. Speak. Xiling was completely furious. She and Long Chong were already extremely anxious, but Dragon Slayer was hesitating. If it were not for the relationship between Dragon Slayer and Longao, Xiling would have even attacked. He did not care at all. The majesty of the Starry Sky Ruler was there. Even if he was a half-step Starry Sky Ruler, he was also an ant-like existence in front of the Starry Sky Ruler. Senior Xiling, Senior Long Chong, Master's situation is very bad. Although Master's aura is still there, I can be sure that Master must be in great trouble now. Life and death trouble. Life and death trouble. These 4 words were enough to explain everything. If it was Long Ao in his original body, the two of them would not be worried at all. Even if Long Ao could not defeat them, he could enter the Chaos Palace. In the vast starry sky, not to mention ordinary starry sky cultivators, even the Starry Sky Ruler could not locate the Chaos Palace. This was the power of the Chaos Palace. But now, the situation was completely different. According to Long Ao, once he disintegrated the Chaos 9-colored lotus flower in his body, his primordial spirit, body, and Chaos Hall would all merge into the Chaos 9-colored lotus flower. In other words, the current Long Ao was only an existence that had fused his primordial spirit with the 9-colored lotus. He was unable to enter the primal Chaos Hall. Xiling and Long Chong knew what it meant to not be able to step into the Chaos Palace. The situation was critical. Time was running out. The two of them were very worried about Long Ao's safety, especially at this time. Time was of the essence for Long Ao. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Dragon Slayer, where is Long Ao now? I don't know. He didn't know? What did that mean? Xiling's face instantly turned gloomy, but she quickly calmed down because she knew very well that with the relationship between Long Ao and Dragon Slayer, it was impossible for Dragon Slayer to deliberately harm Long Ao. It seemed like Dragon Slayer didn't know. Senior Xiling, I don't need to say more. If possible, I'd rather be the one in danger. But one thing I'm sure of is that Master is definitely in the Jianling Mountain. As for where he is, I don't know because even I can't lock on to Master's location. Xiling and Long Chong were a little confused by Dragon Slayer. Since Long Ao was in the Jianling Mountain but couldn't sense Long Ao's location, Xiling and Long Chong would definitely think that Dragon Slayer was doing it on purpose if they didn't trust him. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that something was wrong. Sister Xiling, according to Dragon Slayer, what do you think is going on with Big Brother's current situation? Long Chong had only refined the Chaos Tablet for the first time and became a Starry Sky Dominator, so there were some things that he didn't know. However, Xiling's situation was completely different. This was her second time refining the Chaos Tablet and becoming a Starry Sky Dominator. On the other hand, Xiling and Long Ao's relationship was obvious. Even though Long Chong had become a Starry Sky Dominator, he seemed to respect Xiling a lot. Otherwise, he wouldn't have called Xiling's sister Xiling. Xiling's expression was very serious because she had never encountered such a situation before. According to Dragon Slayer, if Long Ao is really in the Jianling Mountain, then there's only one possibility. What possibility? It wasn't just Long Chong. Even Dragon Slayer was a little impatient. Long Ao's primordial spirit is in another space, and this space is one with the Jianling Mountain. Therefore, Dragon Slayer can sense that Long Ao is in the Jianling Mountain, but we can't lock onto his location. So that's how it is. Long Chong and Dragon Slayer nodded in agreement because they couldn't think of any other possibility besides this one. Sister Xiling, what should we do now? We don't know Long Ao's exact location. Otherwise, if we work together, we might be able to break through this space. Xiling didn't have the slightest bit of confidence, even though she was a Starry Sky Dominator. In the entire vast Starry Sky, other than Song Lin, who didn't know if she could break through the starry sky. Perhaps only Longao could do it. Even the marvelous mathematician and the others couldn't do it. Xiling and the others knew that Longao could break through the starry sky mainly because he cultivated the 9-revolution chaos formula. According to Longao, he had only cultivated the 6th revolution of the 9-revolution chaos formula. He hadn't reached the next 3 revolutions yet, but he had already achieved such power. It was hard to imagine how powerful the 9-revolution chaos formula was. Longao had also tried to teach the 9-revolution chaos formula to his family, including Xiling and Longchang. However, in the end, no one could cultivate the 9-revolution chaos formula. Not to mention the 6th revolution like Longao, they couldn't even reach the 1st revolution of the 9-revolution chaos formula. In other words, the 9-revolution chaos formula seemed to have been prepared for Longao. Xiling and the others had also asked Longao, but even Longao himself didn't know what was going on. Xiling and Longchang knew very well that if this matter had been solved by someone else and Longao had solved it, it would have been very simple. They felt helpless. Longchang, let's do it? He nodded. While Longchang and Xiling were preparing, Long Slayer once again relied on the aura of his primordial spirit to sense Longao's specific location. This was because the more accurate Longao's location was, the greater the chance of saving Longao. However, the relationship between Long Slayer and Longao was very close. It was fine if he didn't sense it, but as long as he sensed it, as long as Longao was in trouble, then Long Slayer would be attacked. If it wasn't for Xiling and Longchang's help, Long Slayer might have been seriously injured. The more this was the case, the more worried Xiling and Longchang became. This was because the two of them didn't know what kind of danger Longao was in. With Longao's strength, it was easy to guess the situation. Chapter 2680. I found it. Both Xiling and Longchang were overjoyed to hear that. They asked impatiently, "Where is it? Tell us." They didn't care at all. Southeast, but I can only confirm that it's within 1,000 meters. I can't pinpoint its exact location. That's enough. Xiling and Longchang were very excited. 1,000 meters was nothing to them. They couldn't wait for even a second. Who knew what danger Longao was in? The sooner they rescued Longao, the better it would be for Longao. Xiling and Longchang attacked with all their might. They even used their Chaos Stone tablets, hoping to hit the target and break through the starry sky. But what was the result? Jianling Mountain. It was another space that had fused with Jianling Mountain. Even the starry sky ruler didn't know about this. As early as 30 years ago, Longao's primordial spirit had been awakened. The 9-petaled lotus reunited, forming the 9-colored chaos lotus. Longao's primordial spirit was inside the 9-colored chaos lotus, but its strength was greatly reduced. As for why he appeared in this mysterious space, even Longao himself didn't know. It was very depressing. Longao's body was trapped inside the 9-colored chaos lotus, and the 9-colored chaos lotus was fused with his primordial spirit. Although he was protected by the 9-colored chaos lotus and wouldn't die, if his body and primordial spirit couldn't fuse in another 20 years, there would only be one outcome. He would be swallowed by the 9-colored chaos lotus. Swallowed. Just thinking about it made him feel scared, because Longao was very clear in his heart that if his primordial spirit and body were really swallowed by the chaotic 9-colored lotus, then in this lifetime, he could forget about breaking out of the seal. He didn't want to see such an outcome. It couldn't happen. It was better to rely on oneself than on others. Although Longao knew that Violet Spirit and Longchang were definitely locking onto his position, wanting to rely on just a trace of Origin Spirit aura to lock onto his position was like searching for a needle in the ocean. It was practically an impossible task. Furthermore, he still had 20 years left. If Xiling and Long Chong were unable to locate him, he would be in big trouble. It was precisely because of this. Longao wanted to rely on his own hard work and luck to see if he could fuse his main body and primordial spirit. What is this place? The space Longao was in was very special. The air around him was also very special. It seemed to be able to devour the primordial spirit. This was also the real reason why Longao kept dodging. If he couldn't step into the primal chaos palace, his primordial spirit would definitely be devoured by the primal chaos 9-colored lotus. He could not let such a thing happen. It was very depressing. Longao was at least 50% confident that he would be able to fuse his main body and essence soul if he disintegrated the chaos 9-colored lotus flower and awakened his essence soul elsewhere. However, his luck wasn't very good. His essence soul would awaken in this godforsaken place. Apart from fusing his main body and essence soul, he had to constantly dodge the air current. What should he do? Longao had a headache. Just as he was about to take a good rest, he suddenly realized that his essence soul was being devoured by the air currents again. He didn't dare to stay any longer. The longer he stayed in a certain place, the more his essence soul would be locked onto by the air currents. If that was really the case, it wouldn't be so easy for his essence soul to leave again. Unknowingly, Longao came to the center of the place. Perhaps even Longao didn't know. It was chaos. What was this place? Longao was very curious. He looked at the gray area in front of him and didn't continue running. This was because he discovered something surprising. Ever since he came here, the air currents that were devouring his essence soul seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Although he didn't know what was going on, it was still a good thing for him. Longao was now in a very sorry state. Just thinking about it made him feel scared. However, he had more important things to do next. If he couldn't fuse his main body and essence soul within 20 years, then everything he said and did now would be nonsense. Everything still depended on his luck. Strictly speaking, it depended on his fate. Fate was something that didn't need to be grasped. Even Longao couldn't grasp it. At this moment, Longao only hoped that he could fuse his main body and essence soul within 20 years and leave this godforsaken place. What's going on? Just as Longao was about to take a good rest, he suddenly realized in shock that his essence soul was no longer under his control. It was flying towards the gray air currents in front of him. Longao was completely scared out of his wit. God knew what the gray air currents in front of him were. If he entered it and encountered an accident, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Longao was helpless because he didn't know what was going on. No matter how hard he tried, his essence soul was still out of his control. He was already very close to the gray air current. In just a few seconds, Longao was forcefully brought into the air current. Chaos 9-colored lotus. Looking at the chaos 9-colored lotus that suddenly floated out of his essence soul, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He was now sure of one thing. This gray air currents should have something to do with the chaos 9-colored lotus that he had fused with. As for whether this was good or bad, he didn't know. The chaos 9-colored lotus floated in front of Longao and started to devour the surrounding air currents. The speed of its devouring was extremely fast. Not only that, the Chaos Palace, the Chaos Axe, and the neutral Chaos Stone Tablet all came out one after another. Like the Chaos 9-colored lotus, they started to devour the surrounding air currents. What was going on? Longao was a little confused. He didn't know what was going on. However, he was still very confident in the 4 treasures that he had. He was also looking forward to being able to control the power of the 4 treasures. Longao wasn't worried at all. As the saying went, if there was a disaster, there was no avoiding it. Especially at this time, he couldn't even move. How could he control the 4 treasures? Everything was up to fate. What was going on? feeling the chaotic nine-colored lotus returning to his primordial spirit. Before Longao could react, the chaotic nine-colored lotus had already begun to fuse with his primordial spirit. However, the fusion this time seemed to be completely different from the previous fusion. This fusion was a complete fusion. In other words, once the fusion was successful, his essence soul would disappear and the chaos nine-colored lotus would disappear as well. They would then fuse into a new essence soul, the lotus essence soul, the nine-colored lotus essence soul. Chapter 2681. The nine-colored chaos lotus merged with the primordial spirit very quickly. Longao didn't even have a chance to react. What was going on? Longao was a little confused. He originally thought his primordial spirit merged with the nine-colored chaos lotus and could achieve true immortality. However, according to the fusion information just now, Longao really knew that the so-called immortality was not the case at all. If he encountered a powerful starry sky cultivator, such as a starry sky ruler who mastered the power of chaos, he could kill him. He was very scared. It seemed that he was wrong. However, then, sensing the fusion of the nine-colored chaos lotus and primordial spirit, Longao was surprised again. He was extremely excited. This was what true immortality was all about. The primordial spirit was indestructible. Once the nine-colored chaos lotus merged with the primordial spirit, both would disappear and form a new nine-colored lotus primordial spirit. Although he didn't know what it meant, Longao knew very well that once the fusion was successful, he would be truly immortal. Not to mention an ordinary starry sky cultivator, even a starry sky ruler who mastered the power of chaos couldn't destroy him. Immortality, but he could still be forcibly suppressed by an expert. This was undoubtedly a good thing. The fusion speed was getting faster and faster. Half an hour later. Finally, the fusion is successful. Longao realized that his primordial spirit was already able to move freely. He was extremely excited in his heart. He had never thought that he would encounter such a thing when he was trapped in this mysterious space. What was the gray airflow? Longao tried to sense it and found that he couldn't sense anything at all. Now that the nine-colored chaos lotus had completely disappeared and his body had merged with his primordial spirit, Longao didn't have to wait for another 20 years. Now, he didn't have to worry about being swallowed by the nine-colored chaos lotus. How could he not be surprised? It's still swallowing. In front of Longao. In the Chaos Hall, the Chaos Axe and the attributeless Chaos Stone Tablet were still swallowing the surrounding airflow. He had already been devouring for an entire hour. Who knew when it would end? However, according to the situation just now, it didn't seem to be a bad thing to keep swallowing. Anyway, he had plenty of time. Previously, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to fuse his main body and Yuan spirit within 20 years and would be devoured by the chaotic nine-colored lotus. Thus, he was very anxious and wanted to fuse his main body and Yuan spirit as soon as possible. But now, the situation was completely different. Now that he had successfully fused his main body with his lotus origin spirit, he no longer had to worry about being devoured. He quietly observed the situation around him. It was as if everything was arranged by fate. Inside the airflow, Longao discovered that although the gray air current he was in didn't seem large, it was actually endless. Because according to normal circumstances, his three treasures should have finished devouring the air current a long time ago. But what was the result? After devouring for about 2 hours, not only did the gray stream not shrink, it actually grew bigger. He was very shocked. Just as Longao was waiting, his expression suddenly changed, and then he was overjoyed. Was his luck really that good? The chaotic nine-colored lotus had just fused with his primordial spirit and formed the nine-colored lotus primordial spirit. But now, this unexpected surprise once again filled Longao's heart. He seemed to find it a little hard to accept. His luck was simply too good. The starry sky martial technique he had before, the chaotic 9 axes, had a total of 9 ultimate moves. He had already comprehended the first move, which was the so-called foundation devouring. There was no doubt that the power of the chaotic first move, hell devouring, was a bit too powerful, especially when combined with the starry sky crack formed by mastering the starry sky. But now, inside the gray airflow, Longao never thought that his chaotic 9 axes martial technique would automatically produce the second move, and even experience it. Yes, it was the experience of the second move. As for what was going on, even Longao himself couldn't explain it clearly. Longao knew very well what it meant to have experience. In other words, if he comprehended the second move under normal circumstances, it would probably take countless years, or even tens of millions of years, or even hundreds of millions of years. But with the chaotic axe, the experience was completely different. This time would be infinitely shortened. It would probably only take a very short time to successfully comprehend the second move. This was the terrifying part of the experience. Until now, Longao still didn't know why the second move of the chaotic 9 axes had such a situation. After all, this didn't happen when he comprehended the first move. But he couldn't care less. Longao immediately began to comprehend the second move of the chaotic 9 axes. The chaotic 9 axes had 9 ultimate moves. The first move was hell devouring, and the second move was the so-called heaven devouring. As for its power, it was dozens of times stronger than the first move. What kind of concept was this? Time passed quickly. After about 3 years, Longao, who had comprehended the second move, heaven devouring, suddenly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, the chaotic axe, which was still devouring the gray airflow, suddenly stopped devouring and instantly came to Longao's right hand. At this moment, Longao seemed to have undergone an earth-shaking change. His entire person had a kind of momentum, a kind of domineering momentum. It wasn't just the chaotic axe. Even the attributeless chaotic stone tablet and the chaotic palace had stopped devouring and returned to Longao's body. After 3 years of comprehension, I finally succeeded. Today, I will try out the power of the chaotic second move, heaven devouring. Longao was also looking forward to the power of the primal chaos second act. He knew very well that the power of the primal chaos second axe was dozens of times stronger than the primal chaos first act. It was still unknown whether it could kill a half-step starry sky ruler with its current strength. However, Longao's intuition told him that his current strength was already above the peak starry sky immortal realm. Not to mention one peak starry sky immortal realm expert. He could kill hundreds or even thousands of peak starry sky immortal realm experts in a matter of minutes. After leaving the gray airflow and looking at the mysterious space in front of him, Longao gently chopped down with the chaotic axe in his hand. The entire mysterious space began to tremble violently, but no cracks appeared in the starry sky. Longao was very shocked because he had full confidence in his 2 ultimate moves. Whether it was the primal chaos second axe, devouring the heavens or mastering the starry sky, they were both very powerful killing moves. With the combination of the two, it would be easy to break through the starry sky. But now, the combination of the 2 ultimate moves couldn't break open the starry sky. It was a little unbelievable. Chapter 2682. What was going on? After thinking about it, Longao finally figured out the reason. It was not that his killing skills were not powerful enough, but that this mysterious space was too terrifying. Even if he combined the starry sky and the second axe of chaos, he could not break this mysterious space. Looking at the huge gray airflow in front of him, Longao did not leave the mysterious space immediately. As his primordial spirit merged with his body, Longao should be able to leave this space if he wanted to. The gray airflow was too powerful. It could be said that, if he had not entered the gray airflow, he would not have been able to achieve what he had now. If he could continue to devour, he did not know what would happen. Longao was ready to continue devouring the gray airflow. But the result? No matter how hard he tried, the other treasures could not continue to devour the gray airflow. It would be a lie to say that he was not depressed. However, Longao did not continue to hesitate because he could not devour it now. Even if he continued to stay, it would be useless. He was very helpless. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only choose to leave. There were still many things waiting for him outside. He could not stay here forever. Calculating the time, it had been more than 80 years since he had broken down the chaotic 9-colored lotus and his primordial spirit had entered the mysterious space. Who knew what would happen in these 80 years? At this moment, could it be Xiling and Longchang? It was almost impossible to break open the mysterious space by force. However, it was a different concept if both the outside and the inside attacked at the same time. He did not dare to hesitate at all. This was the best time for him to leave this space. If he missed this opportunity, with his strength alone, who knew how long he would have to wait? Longao used his most powerful attack and finally broke open the crack in the starry sky. With a stride, his entire figure directly rushed out. In the blink of an eye, Longao had already disappeared from the mysterious space and appeared in Jianling Mountain in an instant. Looking at Longao, who suddenly appeared, whether it was Xiling, Longchang, or Dragon Slayer, they were all excited to the extreme. "Big brother, it's good to see that you're fine. It's good that you're back. Master, congratulations." He nodded. Longao didn't say any more words of thanks. Everything was said in silence. "Longao, what happened?" Longao did not hide much from the three of them. He roughly told them everything that had happened in the mysterious space. However, he did not mention the matter of him devouring the gray gas. It wasn't that he didn't trust the three of them. It was just that Longao was still unwilling to do so. "Congratulations, I didn't expect you to be in Jianling Mountain." Longao was not surprised in the slightest when he saw Yun Lu's group of three. No matter what, this place was still Jianling Mountain. It was already Yun Lu's territory. However, Longao couldn't figure out exactly why Yun Lu's group of three were still staying behind since the entrance to the passageway had already been completely sealed by Tsang Lin. Longao did not ask. Even a fool would know that there was something fishy about this matter. Otherwise, how could Yun Lu's group of three, who were Starry Sky rulers, remain here for no reason? It wasn't as if they had nothing better to do. "Yun Lu, I believe you already know about my situation. As I said before, we have no intention of interfering." Yun Lu certainly knew the current situation. Although he didn't know why Longao had suddenly appeared in Jianling Mountain, Longao hadn't asked him, and he wouldn't ask Longao either. There were some things that should be asked and some things that shouldn't be asked. "It's all right, I believe you." Longao was naturally unwilling to shed all pretenses of cordiality with Yun Lu. After saying a word of farewell, he brought along Violet Spirit 3 people and swiftly left. Before long, they already vanished without a trace. "Patriarch, should we tell Master Clairvoyant and the others about this?" How could Yun Lu not know what Yun he meant? He nodded and said, "That's good too. We won't help each other, but we can help each other at the same time. This way, no matter how they fight, we can still benefit from it." "Then I'll go now." After leaving Jianling Mountain, Longao's expression was grave. "Longao, what's wrong? I keep having the feeling that Jianling Mountain isn't that simple. Let's not talk about Yun Lu's group and the entrance. Just the fact that my primordial spirit is trapped in Jianling Mountain this time is enough to explain everything." As if thinking of something, before Xiling could speak, Longao continued, "Xiling, if I'm not wrong, you should know the identities of Yun Lu's group, right? Without the slightest surprise, Xiling said helplessly, "It seems that you've guessed it." "That's right, not only me, but even Long Tu knows the identities of Yunlu's group." As expected. In the beginning, Longao really didn't think about this because he knew very well that if Xiling knew, there was no way he wouldn't tell him. However, in the current situation, not only Xiling, but even Long Tu knew the identities of Yunlu's group. Longao had a different thought. Why didn't Xiling and Long Tu tell him about Yunlu's group's identities? Was there something fishy about it? The four of them didn't immediately return to the Soaring Dragon Empire. Instead, they found a low-level plane. "Xiling, what's going on?" Longao didn't doubt Xiling's motives. With his relationship with Xiling, Xiling definitely wouldn't harm him. As for Long Tu, it was even more impossible. As long as he wanted to, he could kill Long Tu at any time. Until now, he still couldn't figure out why Xiling and Long Tu didn't tell him about Yunlu at the same time. It seemed a little too coincidental. "Longao, originally, Long Tu and I didn't plan to tell you at all if your cultivation hadn't broken through to half-step Starry Sky Dominator or Starry Sky Dominator. However, since you already know, I won't hide it from you anymore. Yunlu's group's identities are indeed not simple. You should know about the 6 pinnacle races in the vast universe, right?" Nodding. Longao didn't know why Xiling suddenly mentioned the 6 pinnacle races. However, the 6 pinnacle races in the vast universe were the pinnacle human race, the pinnacle dragon race, the pinnacle nether race, the pinnacle mouse race, the pinnacle slaughter race, and the pinnacle mystery race. Could it be that Yunlu's group came from the pinnacle mystery race? Longao wasn't a fool. He instantly guessed Xiling's meaning. Among the 6 pinnacle races, Longao knew about the other 5 pinnacle races. However, this pinnacle mystery race was a little too mysterious. He didn't have any information about it at all. From this, he could imagine that Yunlu's group was most likely from the pinnacle mystery race. As if he could guess Longao's thoughts, Xiling nodded and said, "Longao, your guess is right. Yunlu's group is from the pinnacle mystery race." Chapter 2683. Just as he had expected. Although Longao had guessed it, he was still very surprised. Among the 6 major clans, only the Peak Mysterious clan was very mysterious. Yunlu and the other 2 were from the Peak Mysterious clan. If that was the case, didn't it mean that Yun Qian was also from the Peak Mysterious clan? "Xiling, I'm very curious. Even if Yunlu and the other 2 are from the Peak Mysterious clan, you don't have to hide it from me." He couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. Was there something fishy going on? Longao was very clear about his relationship with Xiling, especially with Bai Ling between them. If that was the case, Xiling wouldn't hide it from him. What was going on? "Longao, to be honest, we've been very curious about the Peak Mysterious clan for so many years. Even the 12 of us don't know the origin of the Peak Mysterious clan." Longao didn't say anything. He just listened quietly. "Yunlu and the other 2 have been hiding their strength. According to my guess, the Peak Mysterious clan has more than 3 rulers of the starry sky." Not only Longao, but the other 2, Long Chong and Long Tu, were also a little surprised. The 3 of them knew better than anyone else what it meant to have 3 rulers of the starry sky in a Peak clan. If there were other rulers of the starry sky in the Peak Mysterious clan, wouldn't it mean that the most powerful force in the vast universe wasn't the Tianwu continent or any other force, but the most mysterious Peak Mysterious clan? They were very shocked. Longao didn't have the slightest doubt. If Xiling didn't have some confidence, he wouldn't be so arbitrary. It seemed that the Peak Mysterious clan wasn't as simple as it seemed. Continue. Longao's intuition told him that Xiling was still hiding something from him. "You and I have already guessed a little about the Jianling Mountain. The Peak Mysterious clan must have some secrets about the Jianling Mountain. It's just that we don't know yet. He nodded in agreement. Of course, Longao had already discovered what Xiling said. Jianling Mountain was definitely not that simple, especially the astral prison. Others might not know, but how could he not know? Longao, according to what you've said, the Starry Sky prison at the entrance of the passageway is actually the border between two vast starry skies. If that's the case, I'm a little unable to understand whether Yunlu and the other two want to seal the passageway or break the seal. Not to mention Xiling, even Longao couldn't figure it out. It was very strange. The actions of Yunlu's group of three were indeed somewhat strange. Xiling, you mean to say that Yunlu and the other two want to open up another vast starry sky? Xiling nodded, then shook his head. What did that mean? Longao was confused by Xiling's behavior. He didn't know what was going on. Longao, I've also thought about what you said earlier for a long time. However, I believe that it's not very likely. If Yunlu and the other two wanted to open a passage to another vast starry sky, there would be no need for them to seal the passage at all. Furthermore, even if they were to open the passage, it would not benefit the three of them or the Peak Mysterious race at all. Not bad. That was very true. Longao and Xiling both knew that the vast starry sky on the other side of the astral prison was filled with countless unknown lifeforms. Their numbers were probably countless times that of the unknown lifeforms in the astral prison. Once the seal was opened, the unknown lifeforms from the other side of the starry sky would madly rush into the vast starry sky. At that time, even if the Peak Mysterious race had another astral dominator, they wouldn't be able to withstand the invasion of the army of unknown lifeforms, let alone Yunlu and the other two. Unless Yunlu had lost his mind, he wouldn't casually do something that would harm both himself and others. He really couldn't figure it out. Longao, I have a feeling that Yunlu and the Peak Mysterious race aren't simple. Therefore, unless it's absolutely necessary, we shouldn't touch the Peak Mysterious race. Longao finally understood what Xiling meant. At the end of the day, Xiling was very wary of Yunlu and the Peak Mysterious race. He was afraid that there would be a grudge between them. Xiling was very touched. Longao knew that Xiling was sincerely helping him, but he still didn't express his gratitude. It was still the same sentence. Everything was understood without words. Longao, listen to me. No matter what happens, it's best to keep a certain distance from the Peak Mysterious race, and that Yunqian. No problem. If it hadn't been for the Jianling Mountain, Longao knew very well that he wouldn't have had anything to do with the Peak Mysterious race. However, Longao's intuition told him that this matter wasn't so simple. It wasn't as simple as if the Peak Mysterious race wouldn't come looking for him if he didn't provoke them. Previously, Yunlu had already divined many things about him. From this, one could imagine that the Chaos Tablet Yunlu had devoured was the so-called Divine Divination Tablet. However, Yunlu had been able to calculate things about him. It was clear that Yunlu's divination abilities were far superior to Master Divinations. What did this mean? If nothing unexpected happened, Yunlu, who was at the peak of the mysterious race, might have already grasped the power of chaos. However, for some reason, Yunlu's current strength was on par with Master Divinations and the others. He felt very helpless. There were some things that couldn't be avoided even if he wanted to. However, Longao quickly regained his composure. He would deal with whatever came his way. He had to face what he had to face, and what he couldn't avoid, he couldn't avoid. Xiling, Longchong, the two of you have successfully refined the Chaos Tablet. Now, think of a way to control the chaos power within the tablet. I have a very bad feeling about this. In the near future, the universe will be in trouble. Longchong and Xiling knew what Longao was thinking, but they were helpless. Longchong said gloomily, "Big brother, you should know how difficult it is to control the chaos power within the tablet. Sister Xiling and I don't have the slightest bit of confidence. It wasn't just Long Chong. Violet's spirit was the same. Otherwise, for countless years, none of the 12 rulers of the stars had been able to master the power of chaos within the Chaos Tablets. Not even Master God Diviner had been able to do so. There had to be something missing. Dragon Slayer was very surprised. Even now, he couldn't figure out how his master could make the 2 rulers of the universe willingly stay by his side. Moreover, they were so obedient. The ruler of the universe was a lofty existence in the vast universe. Even if his master's talent was extraordinary, he was still only at the peak of the universe. He was too far away from the ruler of the universe. They weren't on the same level. However, Dragon Slayer was very excited. Previously, he had chosen to submit to Longao because of the white-clothed girl. He wasn't convinced, but as time passed, Dragon Slayer was completely willing. If he continued to follow his master, he might become a ruler of the universe in the future. Ever since he submitted to Longao, Dragon Slayer already knew what had happened. There were no less than 10 people in the entire Soaring Dragon Empire who had devoured the Chaos Tablet. What kind of concept was that? Chapter 2684. If there's a chance, I'll go to the Jianling Mountains. He was shocked. Xiling said worriedly, Longao, I just said that the pinnacle mysterious race isn't as simple as they seem. As long as they don't provoke us, why should we provoke them? He didn't understand. Xiling was furious. She said so much because she was afraid that Longao would provoke Yun Lu and the pinnacle mysterious race. She knew Longao's personality better than anyone else. Once he decided on something, he wouldn't change his mind. Xiling didn't know what Longao was thinking. Xiling, listen to me first. Humph. Xiling snorted coldly, but didn't say anything. Longao didn't care at all because he knew that Xiling was doing this for his own good. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't even care. Xiling, I believe you know what happened between me, Yunlu, and Yunqian. He nodded. Towards Violet's spirit, Longao had never concealed anything in the slightest. Therefore, regarding the matters between him and Yunlu and the rest, Violet's spirit still knew. Xiling still couldn't figure it out. According to my guess, if nothing unexpected happens, even if I don't go to Yunlu will probably come to me. Why is that? Xiling's anger had disappeared without a trace. Xiling's intuition told her that Longao wasn't a reckless person, especially with the Soaring Dragon Empire behind him. Longao already had many enemies, including the Oracle and the others. There was no need for another super-enemy, unless Longao believed that he could kill the Starry Sky ruler. That was impossible. Not to mention Longao, even if she and Long Chong helped Longao, they probably wouldn't be able to do it, unless everyone in the Soaring Dragon Empire who swallowed the Primal Chaos Tablet refined it and became the Starry Sky ruler, or someone between Long Chong and herself could control the primal chaos power in the tablet. However, no matter which one it was extremely difficult to achieve. It was almost impossible. I don't know why, but whether it's the Oracle or Yunlu, they seem to have something to do with me. Especially this time in the Jianling Mountains. No one can break the seal except me. He wouldn't believe that there wasn't something fishy going on. Xiling wasn't an idiot. She instantly understood what Longao meant. Her expression was ugly. Could this be fate? If Longao hadn't said anything, she wouldn't care. Now that Longao had said it, the more Xiling thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. Whether it was the 12 Starry Sky rulers, including herself, or Yunlu and the others, they all seemed to revolve around Longao. Especially this time in the Jianling Mountains. Xiling also realized that something was wrong. If that was the case, then it wouldn't be easy for Longao to avoid it. She sighed deeply. Looking at Longao, Xiling was extremely worried. But she still said, Longao, what are you planning to do now? I'll deal with whatever comes my way. That was easy to say, but dealing with it was easier said than done. This time, if Longao hadn't dissolved the primal chaos 9-colored lotus in his body, it would have been impossible for them to leave the martial heaven continent. Such a thing would happen a second time, a third time, or even a fourth time. Longao couldn't dissolve the primal chaos 9-colored lotus every time. Furthermore, Longao had said that after this incident, the primal chaos 9-colored lotus in his body had completely merged with his Yuan spirit. In other words, Longao didn't have the primal chaos 9-colored lotus in his body anymore. If he encountered the same situation as before in the martial heaven continent, it would be wishful thinking to continue dissolving the primal chaos 9-colored lotus and leave. There was nothing they could do. If it had been any other cultivator, even a half-step starry sky ruler, Xiling and Longchong could have easily dealt with them. But the current situation was a little special. Whether it was the God Diviner, Yun Lu, or the Peak Mysterious Race, they were all extremely powerful. Even with Longchong and her help, Longao would be in constant danger. What should they do? Seeing Xiling remain silent, Longao could guess what Xiling was thinking. Smiling, Longao said, "Xiling, you don't need to worry about me. Although my Yuan spirit has merged with the primal chaos 9-colored lotus, I still have the primal chaos palace. It won't be easy for them to kill me." Hearing the mention of the primal chaos palace, Xiling relaxed. Xiling naturally knew what Longao's primal chaos palace was. It was a divine artifact that even starry sky rulers couldn't lock onto. It was obvious how terrifying it was. However, relying on the primal chaos palace alone wasn't a long-term solution. Longao, I'm very curious. With your talent, even if you can't completely refine the primal chaos tablets, you should have made some progress. But ever since you devoured them, there hasn't been the slightest progress. What's going on? Not only Xiling, but even Longao couldn't do anything about it. The non-elemental primal chaos tablets in his body seemed to have a grudge against him. No matter how he tried to refine them, they wouldn't listen. This made him very depressed. Let's not talk about this for now. Xiling, Longchong, you two go back to the Empire first. I'm afraid the God Diviner and the others will do something bad to the Empire. Big brother, aren't you coming back with us? Not only Longchong, but even Xiling was very curious. They didn't know what Longao wanted to do and why he wasn't going back with them. Longao smiled bitterly and said, "I just said that I have to go take a look at Jianling Mountain. I wanted to go later, but as I said, there are some things that I can't avoid even if I want to. Since that's the case, I might as well take the initiative. That way, I can gain the upper hand." Before Xiling could say anything, Longao continued, "I already said that I have the primal chaos palace. Whether it's the God Diviner or Yun Lu, they can't do anything to me. I'll live well." Xiling looked like he wanted to say something, but in the end, he swallowed his words. He sighed deeply and told Han Sen to be careful. Then, he turned and left. Not long after, he disappeared with Longchong and Dragon Slayer. After leaving the plane, Longao looked at the endless space in front of him. He felt very helpless. No matter how hard he tried, there seemed to be a mountain in front of him. It was too difficult to climb over it. Whether it was the God Diviner's group of 6, Yun Lu's group of 3, or the other rulers of space, they all had a connection with him. Was he really the fate of the vast universe? It was still the same saying. He had to deal with whatever came his way. Thinking of this, Longao didn't stay any longer. He stepped forward and teleported. Longao's speed soared to the extreme. In about a few minutes, he arrived outside Jianling Mountain. Chapter 2685. Jianling Mountain. As soon as Longao arrived at Jianling Mountain, Yun Lu and the other two appeared. Jianling Mountain was too important to the three of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed so close to it. The more this was the case, the more curious Longao became. He still couldn't figure out why the three of them were so nervous about entering Jianling Mountain. Even though the entrance was sealed, they weren't willing to leave. What was the reason? Longao, what are you doing? Yunlu, I want to talk to you. Because of Yunxian, Longao hadn't completely fallen out with Yunlu, even when Yunlu had tried to stop him and Song Lin at the entrance. If he was alone, he wouldn't have cared, but he had the entire empire behind him. He couldn't be reckless. Even if he didn't think for himself, he had to think for everyone in the empire. He nodded. Yunlu led Longao into Jianling Mountain. As for Yunhe and Yuntian, they didn't follow. Instead, they returned to the entrance and continued to guard it. They were really careful. Longao couldn't figure it out. With 3 rulers of the universe guarding this place, no one would dare to casually step into Jianling Mountain unless they had a screw loose. Not to mention ordinary cultivators, even rulers of the universe, such as the divine mathematician, wouldn't dare step into Jianling Mountain. Longao didn't know what the 3 of them were worried about. Inside the pavilion, Longao and Yunlu sat down. Without the slightest hesitation, Yunlu said, I don't know why you've come to find me. If there's anything you want, just say it. Longao didn't intend to keep it a secret. After all, it was better to make things clear. Yunlu, I want to know what secrets Jianling Mountain holds. Why are the 3 of you so nervous about the entrance when it's already been sealed? He wasn't the least bit surprised. Yunlu seemed to have already guessed that Longao came this time because of this matter. Longao, the secret of Jianling Mountain has nothing to do with anyone else, nor will it affect anyone in the vast starry sky. The Jianling Mountain is only useful to us, the pinnacle of the mysterious race. The pinnacle mysterious clan. Of course, Yunlu didn't hide his identity. Even if Longao didn't know, how could Xiling and Dragon Slayer not know? Only a fool would believe that. Yunlu, others might not know, but do you think I don't know? Please speak. Yunlu's expression gradually turned cold. Although he was unwilling to deal with Longao, there were some things that were beyond his control. If Longao insisted on doing so, he would have no choice but to take action even if he was extremely unwilling. But for some reason, Yunlu kept feeling that he wasn't completely confident. Perhaps it was because of the Oracle and the others. Back on the Martial Heaven continent, the 6 rulers of the starry sky hadn't been able to kill Longao. In the end, they had been prepared to let him escape. If the Oracle hadn't said it himself, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Longao's fate was really troublesome. But again, as long as it wasn't a last resort, Yunlu absolutely wouldn't casually take action. No matter what. Ignoring Longao's strength and mysteries, just the 2 rulers of the starry sky by Longao's side, the Sword Will Starry Sky Ruler and the 5 Elements Starry Sky Ruler, were very troublesome. If he could recover his peak strength, then all of this wouldn't be a problem. But the current situation was a little different. Yunlu, when I entered the Starry Sky prison and met Bayan, I already know about the other Starry Sky. Hearing this, Yunlu's expression changed slightly. Looking at Yunlu's expression, Longao was absolutely certain that Yunlu knew about the other Starry Sky. Inwardly, he was furious. The other Starry Sky was obviously filled with countless unknown lifeforms. Once the seal was broken, an army of unknown lifeforms would flood into the starry sky and sweep through the starry sky. It was obvious what the consequences would be. Yunlu couldn't be unaware of such consequences. Calm down. Longao knew very well that Yunlu definitely didn't want to break the seal and open the border between the 2 starry skies. Doing so would be of no use to Yunlu. With Yunlu's current strength and the might of the peak mysterious race, he already stood at the peak of the starry sky. In that case, Yunlu didn't need to borrow the power of the army of unknown lifeforms. There must be something fishy going on. Killing intent surged in Yunlu's eyes, but he suppressed it in the end. Since you already know, there's no need for me to hide it from you. You're right. The starry sky prison itself is a border that seals another vast starry sky with countless unknown lifeforms. Once the seal is broken, this vast starry sky will be devoured and become food for the other starry sky. Longao's expression was very gloomy and unsightly. No one has been able to open the seal, but you have opened the seal. The sealing method that I said before is indeed effective. If I want to break the seal, Longao, not only will I not help you this time, but I can also break the seal as I wish since countless years ago. Do you believe me? I do. His intuition told him that what Yunlu said was true. But even so, he still couldn't figure out why Yunlu wanted him to enter the starry sky prison and prevent him from leaving. If Song Lin hadn't intervened in time, he believed that he would have either died in the starry sky prison or been sealed there forever. Just thinking about it made him shiver. As if he could guess Longao's thoughts, Yunlu said, "Longao, I just said that if I want to, I can break the seal at any time. Just as you think, my peak mysterious race is also in the starry sky. If I open the other starry sky, the army of unknown lifeforms will sweep through the starry sky. It won't do me any good, so why do I have to do this?" Longao didn't say anything and just listened quietly. There's a secret in the Spirit Sword Mountain that's very useful to our Pinnacle Mystic clan. It's precisely because of the seal that I couldn't forcefully take action, which delayed me for countless years. However, you and Song Lin's sudden action gave me hope once again. If we can succeed without breaking the seal, it would be a great thing for our Pinnacle Mystic clan. I see. Longao didn't have the slightest doubt because Yunlu didn't have to lie to him. As he said, it would be easy for him to break the seal of the starry sky prison. Why wait until now? Yunlu, one last question. When I left the starry sky prison, why did you stop me from leaving? Chapter 2686. This was what Longao couldn't figure out the most. Why did Yunlu stop him? If Yunlu wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have gone through so much trouble. It would have been much easier to kill him before he stepped into the passageway than when he left the astral prison. It's still the same thing. What a headache. Yunlu didn't say what it was. Longao knew very well that since Yunlu didn't want to say more, even if he asked, it would be useless. Longao, for the sake of our race, I had to drive you back to the astral prison. However, I didn't expect Song Lin to suddenly attack. Therefore, from now on, I won't attack you. I just hope that you won't step into the Jianling Mountain again. Was that possible? Impossible. There wasn't the slightest surprise. Yunlu had already guessed that Longao would give such an answer. If Longao chose to compromise, then he wouldn't be Longao. Longao, I'll say it again. If I want to break the seal, let alone you, even if all the astral rulers come, they won't be able to stop me. After saying that, Yunlu didn't continue, but Longao understood the meaning of his words clearly. He didn't doubt it. I believe you. Yunlu smiled. Again, unless it was absolutely necessary, he really didn't want to fall out with Longao, especially after the incident at the passageway. The two astral rulers by Longao's side weren't to be trifled with, especially at this critical juncture. Yunlu was very surprised that Longao didn't continue to pursue the matter of the passageway. If it were someone else, Yunlu wouldn't have thought so. No matter what, his strength was there for all to see, and he had the entire peak mysterious race behind him. Unless he was blind, how could he bear a grudge? A astral ruler who bore a grudge, no, 3 astral rulers, was simply kicked in the head by a donkey. However, Longao's situation was completely different. A person who dared to provoke 6 astral rulers at the same time would be afraid of him? It was simply a joke. Yunlu, if I'm not wrong, you should note Song Lin. That's right. As expected, it seemed that Yun Lu was not a simple person. Back then, Yun Lu and Song Lin had exchanged blows. A person who could even defeat the divine mathematician in one move was actually able to fight Yun Lu to a draw. Longao was practically certain that Yun Lu at his peak had absolutely grasped the energy of primal chaos, and his strength was almost on par with Song Lin. What a terrifying top-notch mysterious clan. If Xilinx's guess was correct, there were other star dominators in the pinnacle mystic tribe. If that was truly the case, then the peak mysterious clan behind Yun Lu was truly a little too terrifying. I want to know Song Lin's identity. Huh? Hearing Longao's words, Yun Lu was utterly shocked. You still don't know who Song Lin is? He shook his head. Longao didn't know why Yun Lu was so shocked. Could it be that he should know Song Lin's identity? Until now, Song Lin's identity was still a mystery. Longao, I can tell you this. Song Lin's identity is not simple. Since she didn't tell you, I won't tell you either. You should ask her yourself after she recovers from her injuries. It was very depressing. Since Yun Lu wasn't willing to say more, Longao didn't continue asking. Song Lin's condition isn't good. Ever since she forcefully sealed the array formation, she hasn't recovered from her injuries. Longao deliberately said this matter because he wanted to see if Yun Lu had any way to help Song Lin. Although Yun Lu and Song Lin had fought in the passageway and even tried to stop him, he could clearly sense that Yun Lu didn't have the slightest killing intent towards him or Song Lin. Under such circumstances, there was no need for him to continue being conflicted. There was no need for him to have a powerful enemy for no reason. How could Yun Lu not know Longao's intentions? He was helpless. Longao, I can only tell you that Song Lin has a treasure protecting her. It's impossible for her to die. As for whether she can recover from her injuries, it's up to you. Up to me? I don't know what you mean. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Yun Lu meant. If he had a way to help Song Lin, he wouldn't have waited until now. He felt very guilty, but more than that, he felt love. Regardless of whether it was guilt or love, Longao knew very well that no matter what price he had to pay, he had to help Song Lin recover from her injuries. Longao, you have a lot of secrets. Even I can't see through you. Remember, everything depends on you. F***ck, that was as good as not saying anything. Longao said goodbye and didn't stay any longer. Instead, he turned around and quickly left. I hope you don't become my enemy. Otherwise, no matter who you are, I'll kill you without mercy. Yun Lu's eyes suddenly surged with killing intent. The terrifying murderous aura from his body directly rushed into the 9 heavens. He had temporarily chosen to believe Yun Lu. Therefore, Longao didn't intend to intervene in the Jianling Mountains matter. Just as Yun Lu said, as long as he wanted to, he could break the seal at any time. Even if he wanted to intervene, he was afraid that he would be powerless. He had already wasted less than 100 years. Without asking, Longao knew that Song Lin's situation was still the same. The longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. What should he do? One day later, Longao smoothly returned to the Soaring Dragon Empire. Until now, he still felt a little scared. If he hadn't encountered the mysterious space's gray airflow this time, he didn't even know if he could come back alive. The most likely thing that would have happened was that he would be eternally sealed by the chaotic 9-colored lotus. But now everything was over. Not only did he not have the slightest problem, but his primordial spirit had merged with the chaotic 9-colored lotus, forming a brand new 9-colored lotus primordial spirit. He had achieved true immortality. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't excited. As soon as he stepped into the Soaring Dragon Empire, Longao took a step forward and instantly arrived in Song Lin's room. Song Lin's room was a forbidden area. Except for a few people, no one else was allowed to take half a step in. At this moment, Yuin was carefully taking care of Tsang Lin. "Brother Ao, you're back." Seeing that her lover had returned safely, Yuin was very surprised. However, when she thought of Tsang Lin's life and death, she was a little worried. "How is she?" Yuin obviously knew who Brother Ao was referring to. She sighed deeply and said helplessly, "After 100 years, she's still the same. She didn't even move a little. If it wasn't for her aura, I would have thought that." At this point, Yuin didn't continue, but the meaning in her words was very clear. Longao also let out a deep sigh. He walked to the front of the bed and looked at the young lady who was quietly lying on the bed. He felt even more guilty in his heart. If it wasn't for his recklessness and impulsiveness, Tsang Lin wouldn't have fallen to such a state today. Chapter 2687. What should he do? Looking at Tsang Lin, who was lying on the bed, Long Ao's expression became more and more serious and ugly. "Brother Ao, is there still no way?" He shook his head helplessly. If there was a way, why would he wait until now? "Yuin, you go out first. I'm going to continue trying. Don't tire yourself out." Yuin was very proactive. She gently kissed Long Ao's face and turned to leave. "It didn't work before. I don't know if it will work this time." The reason why Long Ao wanted to try was because this time, when his primordial spirit entered the mysterious space, the attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet swallowed the gray energy. Although until now, Long Ao still didn't know what the gray energy was, to the attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet, it was definitely beneficial and harmless. If he didn't try, he wouldn't be satisfied. He hoped that he would succeed this time. With a trace of guilt and a trace of hope, Long Ao began to act. The attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet flew out from the primordial hall and floated in front of Long Ao. It must succeed. It must succeed. Clenching his fists tightly, Long Ao's expression was especially serious. In the next second, the attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet tried to enter Tsang Lin's body. But like before, the attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet was unable to enter Tsang Lin's body. He sighed deeply. He knew that this would be the result. But when he really encountered it, he didn't know what to do. Just as Long Ao was about to give up, the situation changed. The attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet was unable to enter Tsang Lin's body. But in the next second, a black primordial chaos stone tablet suddenly floated out. He was overjoyed. It seemed like his guess was right. After swallowing the gray energy, the attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet could indeed move the primordial chaos stone tablet in Tsang Lin's body. Next, there was only one thing to do. That was to borrow the attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet to allow the primordial chaos stone tablet in Tsang Lin's body to move on its own. Self-repair. Whether or not it would succeed was still unknown. But Long Ao's worries were unnecessary. Since the attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet could draw out the primordial chaos stone tablet in Tsang Lin's body, it was already half a success. Retrieving his attribute-less primordial chaos stone tablet, Long Ao's face was filled with joy. Because at this moment, the black chaos stone tablet floating in front of Tsang Lin had already begun to slowly spin. It disappeared in midair and returned to Tsang Lin's body. Long Ao could clearly sense that Tsang Lin now had signs of life. Although he didn't know how long it would take for Tsang Lin to wake up, he believed that it wouldn't be long before Tsang Lin completely woke up. There was no doubt about that. He slowly left the room. "Brother Ao, did you succeed?" Looking at Brother Ao's excited and surprised face, Yuin seemed to have guessed something and was also surprised. He nodded. "Yuin, please take good care of Tsang Lin from now on." The relationship between Long Ao and Yuin was different from other people, so there was no trace of politeness at all. However, the more Longao acted like this, the happier Yuin seemed to be. No problem. Go and rest. Looking at her beloved in front of her, Yu Yin's heart ached to the extreme. Longao was indeed a bit tired. Previously, he had forcefully fused his main body and primordial spirit. He had been enduring until now. Aoshua's room. Longao lay quietly beside Aoshua. His breathing gradually sounded. Aoshua felt helpless in her heart. She felt even more heartache. Just now, Big Sister Yuin had sent her a spiritual sense transmission, telling her to keep Brother Ao no matter what and to let Brother Ao have a good rest. It was really hard on Brother Ao. Just like that, Aoshua hugged Longao and slept quietly. With Yu Yin's orders, no one came to disturb them. This sleep, Longao slept for 3 days and 3 nights before he slowly opened his eyes. Brother Ao, you're awake? And is everything in the Empire fine? Don't worry. Longao chatted with Aoshua for a while before he got up and went to Tsang Lin's room. Seeing that Tsang Lin was slowly recovering, he was pleasantly surprised. It seemed that his guess was right. As long as he activated the Chaos Stone tablet in Tsang Lin's body to self-repair, Tsang Lin would definitely be able to recover in time. Brother Ao, Big Sister Tsang Lin is fine for now. And Yuin, is something wrong? Longao knew Yuin too well. Looking at the hesitant Yuin, he already knew that something must have happened to his most beloved woman. Otherwise, she wouldn't be like this. Brother Ao, little sister Aoshua is very worried about Yun-er's safety. Even father, mother, and grandfather are the same. If you have time, you should go outside and look for Yun-er. If possible, you should bring Yun-er back. If it was in the past, Longao definitely wouldn't be like this. After all, in his opinion, only through constant life and death situations could his son obtain the greatest training and quickly increase his strength. However, the situation now was obviously different. The Oracle and the others had failed to kill him last time, so they definitely wouldn't give up. Under the premise that they couldn't kill him and lock onto the Empire, they would definitely do everything they could to locate his son. If something happened to Yun-er, he would be in a very passive position. That definitely couldn't happen. And in 3 days I'll get up and look for Yun-er. Yuin looked at Longao in surprise. She didn't think that Brother Ao would agree so readily. After all, Longao had always advocated for Yun-er to go out and experience life and death situations. Yuin, I know what you're thinking. The situation now is different from before. The Oracle and the others have always wanted to deal with me. If Yun-er is locked onto by them with his strength, it won't bode well for him. Brother Ao, since that's the case, you don't have to wait 3 days. Set off immediately. Of course, Longao knew what Yuin was worried about. However, when he thought about it, if anything really happened to Yun-er, not to mention how he would explain it to Aoshua, his parents, and the others, he wouldn't be able to get through this ordeal. Going late or going early was a month. Thinking of this, Longao nodded and said, since that's the case, I'll take action immediately. Don't tell anyone about this first, lest they worry. I know. I'll also take good care of Sister Tsang Lin. Don't worry. Yuin knew what Longao was thinking the most. Longao smiled and didn't continue to hesitate. He immediately got up and left the soaring dragon empire. However, in the vast starry sky, it was indeed not an easy task to lock onto Yun-er's specific location. Where should he start? After thinking about it, Longao still didn't know what to do. In the end, he could only search blindly. Locking onto Yun-er's specific location still required luck. If he was unlucky, he might not be able to find him even if he was right in front of him. Chapter 2688. The vast starry sky was boundless. Jianling Mountain. Looking at Longao who had suddenly descended, Yunlu was very curious. He didn't know why Longao had returned. He didn't believe that Longao had returned to interfere in this matter. As long as water wasn't in his head, he wouldn't do that. Longao, what are you doing? How could Longao not know what Yunlu was thinking in his heart? Yunlu, I'm here to ask for your help. Please speak. So that's why. Yunlu, if I'm not wrong, the chaos tablet you devoured should be the divine divination tablet, right? Although he didn't know what Longao meant, Yunlu still nodded. There was no need to hide it. To be honest, my son Long Yun left the Soaring Dragon Empire many years ago, and his whereabouts are unknown. The vast starry sky is boundless. It's a little too difficult to lock onto Yun Er's position with just my strength. Yunlu wasn't a fool. He instantly understood the meaning of Longao's words. He smiled. No problem, I'll help you lock onto it now. If it was Yunlu at his peak, he might be able to lock onto Long Yun's position. However, the current situation was a little special. Whether it was Longao or Yunlu, they weren't completely confident. Longao came this time just to give it a try. About a few minutes later. Longao, if I were to rely on my divination alone, I wouldn't be able to calculate Long Yun's exact position. However, with your help, I can try to sense Long Yun's position based on your aura. No problem. Longao naturally wouldn't refuse. As long as he could lock onto Yun Er's position in the shortest amount of time, anything would be worth it. According to Yunlu, Longao tried to slowly send his primordial spirit aura into the divine divination tablet. As expected, it was just as Yunlu said. Relying on his primordial spirit aura, Yunlu had already successfully locked onto Yunlu's position in a few minutes. Kanglan Realm. As for which realm it is, I can't calculate it. Thank you. Although he had only deduced one realm, it was enough for Longao. Longao's speed was extremely fast. Even if he had to cross countless realms, it was nothing to the current Longao. Longao's speed soared to the extreme. About several hours later, Kanglan Domain in one of the countless realms in the vast starry sky. The Kanglan Domain was extremely large and contained countless planes. Although he had already determined that Yun'er was on the Kanglan continent, it was a little too difficult to determine a person's specific location when there were so many planes. Currently, Longao's cultivation base had successfully broken through the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm, but he had yet to reach the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm. Strictly speaking, Longao's cultivation base had already surpassed the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm and was below the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm. He could instantly kill a peak Starry Sky Immortal in a matter of minutes, and it was more than enough to fight a half-step Starry Sky Ruler. As for whether he could kill a half-step Starry Sky Ruler, Longao wasn't too sure. Only by fighting a half-step Starry Sky Ruler could he fully understand his current strength. There was no other choice. Longao could only use the stupidest method, which was to use his primordial spirit to try and determine Yun'er's location. If it was before, Longao would definitely not dare to do this. Even if his cultivation base had successfully broken through the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm, it still wouldn't be enough. But now, the situation was completely different. Longao's primordial spirit had completely merged with the Chaos Nine-Colored Lotus, forming a brand new Nine-Colored Lotus primordial spirit. Although his cultivation base had yet to break through the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm, Longao was full of confidence. Now, his primordial spirit aura was not only comparable to a half-step Starry Sky Ruler, but it could even firmly suppress one. In other words, a half-step Starry Sky Ruler could only dream of suppressing him with the primordial spirit. Standing at the center of the Kanglan Domain, Longao looked at the space around him. Who are you? Why have you come to my Kanglan Domain? Yilan, the #1 expert of the Kanglan Domain, was a Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert. Just now, Longao released his primordial spirit aura in an unscrupulous manner, attracting the attention of countless starry sky cultivators, because this was disrespectful to starry sky cultivators and their plane. Unless there was something wrong with their heads, no one would do such a thing. Back off. Yilan's face instantly turned cold when he heard the words of the young man in front of him. Ever since he became the ruler of the Kanglan domain, no one had ever dared to be so arrogant. Who are you? How dare you speak to Lord Yilan like this? You're simply courting death. Lord Yilan, let this little one take this person down. Countless flattering voices immediately rang out in the surroundings, each and every one of them trying their best to curry favor with Yilan. No matter what, Yilan controlled the entire Kanglan domain. If they could build a good relationship with Yilan, wouldn't they be able to do whatever they wanted in the future? Now, Longao was in an extremely bad mood. He looked coldly at the people around him, and snorted coldly. Before anyone could react, Longao used his finger as a sword and continuously drew in the air around him. A shocking scene then happened. The surrounding space began to tremble. In just a tenth of a second, countless cracks in space began to appear in the surroundings. Those who ran fast might be able to avoid being swallowed by the cracks in space, but those who were slow were not so lucky and were instantly swallowed by the cracks in space. Huh! Looking at the young man who had just casually attacked and killed thousands of starry sky cultivators in a few moves, everyone was completely shocked. They all retreated one after another, afraid that Longao would continue to attack and bring disaster to the fish in the moat. At that time, they wouldn't even know how they died. Yilan's speed was very fast, but even so, it was fortunate that he reacted in time. Otherwise, he would also have been swallowed by the cracks in space. Just thinking about it scared him. With Longao's current strength, it was too easy for him to kill a starry sky immortal expert. If Longao really wanted to, Yilan would not have been able to escape. Get lost, all of you! Longao was very anxious because he didn't know if the divine mathematician could calculate Yun-Er's specific location. If he was unlucky and Yun-Er's location was really locked by the divine mathematician, then things would be very troublesome. It was precisely because of this urgent situation that Longao directly attacked. Sure enough, Longao's valiant strength intimidated everyone in the surroundings. The noisy situation just now instantly calmed down. Where did he come from? How could he be so strong? Perhaps even the #1 expert of Kanglan domain, Yilan, couldn't do this. Could it be that this boy was a peak starry sky immortal expert that was above the starry sky immortal realm? Chapter 2689. Senior, I didn't mean to disturb you. Is there anything I can help you with? Seeing the other party's terrifying strength, Yilan's attitude took a 180-degree turn. What a joke. It would be a piece of cake for an expert who could break through the starry sky to kill him. At this moment, as if thinking of something, Yilan's expression changed abruptly. He was incomparably shocked. Shatter the starry sky? In the entire vast starry sky, including the starry sky ruler, there was only one person who could do this. It was that monster Longao who feared nothing and dared to provoke the 9 great starry sky empires. Could the other party be the legendary Longao? Yilan swallowed his saliva hard. Have you guessed it? Looking at the crowd in front of him, Longao sneered. Once he used the starry sky and shattered the starry sky, many people would be able to guess his identity. It could be said that now he was definitely a celebrity in the vast starry sky, especially when he fought against the 9 great starry sky empires. As for the grudge between him and the starry sky ruler, very few people knew about it. Senior Long, he waved his hand. Longao certainly wouldn't attack the people in front of him. In his eyes, these people were no different from ants. How could he casually attack them? Get lost. Longao. The young man in front of him was actually Longao. Many people had already guessed Longao's identity. Under their shocked gazes, they slowly retreated. In a short while, everyone had disappeared without a trace. Only Yilan was left. "Why didn't you leave?" Longao's face turned cold. Even if he didn't attack, it didn't mean that anyone could challenge his bottom line, even if the other party was a starry sky immortal. If they didn't move aside, he would kill them without hesitation. Yilan forcefully suppressed the shock and fear in his heart as he cautiously asked, "Senior Long, forgive me for taking the liberty to ask you this, but have you stepped into the Kanglan domain this time to look for someone?" Hearing this, 2 rays of golden light shot out. "How did you know?" As soon as he said Longao, he regretted a little because he already knew how Yilan knew he was here to look for someone. Anyone could see that. However, Yilan did not mind at all. He forced a smile and said, "Senior Long, I have stayed in the Kanglan domain for tens of millions of years, and I know the Kanglan domain very well. If there is anything I can help you with, I will definitely not hesitate." Flattery. If it had been any other matter or any other time, Longao definitely wouldn't have agreed. Only now. Longao knew very well that although the Kanglan domain was just a domain, there were countless planes within it. Wanting to find Yun-Er's location in a short period of time was indeed an unrealistic matter. It would be best if someone could help him, especially since this person was the local tyrant of the Kanglan domain. He knew the situation of the Kanglan domain very well. He nodded. "I have indeed come to the Kanglan domain this time to look for someone. If you can help me find this person, I will definitely thank you." In fact, Longao was still curious. Everyone in the vast starry sky knew that he and the 9 great starry sky empires were mortal enemies. As a starry sky immortal, it was impossible for Yilan to not know. If that was the case, why would Yilan still want to help him? Was Yilan not afraid of setting himself on fire? Longao smiled inwardly and didn't think too much about it. In his opinion, Yilan wouldn't play any tricks in front of him, as long as Yilan wasn't stupid. If Yilan betrayed him, he probably wouldn't be able to live. He was overjoyed. "Senior Long, please give me this person's information. If this person is really in the Kanglan domain, I believe I can help you locate him in 3 days at most." Longao was also a little impatient. He immediately transmitted all the information about Yun-Er to Yilan. "Senior Long, please come to my plane to rest for a while. I will do it right away." "Okay." Longao entered a high-grade plane where Yilan was. The environment was very elegant, surrounded by water, and hundreds of flowers were blooming. It was indeed a paradise on earth. Yilan didn't hesitate in the slightest. He immediately distributed all the information about Long Yun. With Yilan's status in the Kanglan domain, in just a few hours, the entire Kanglan domain began to search. 3 days later. "Senior Long, fortunately, I didn't let you down. I have found traces of this person." Longao stood up directly. He was pleasantly surprised. He really didn't expect to find Yun-Er's location so easily. There was only one thing to do next, and that was to bring Yun-Er back to the Soaring Dragon Empire. "Where is he?" "Senior, please follow me." Longao didn't have the slightest doubt. He immediately followed Yilan and left the high-grade plane. "Yilan, where is this person?" "Senior, according to the information I received, someone saw this person enter a mid-grade plane as early as a few decades ago. He hasn't come out yet. It's not easy for us to go in and look for him. With Senior Long's aura, as long as we enter, I believe we can definitely find him." He nodded. It was indeed so. It was indeed a little difficult to find a plane, but it wasn't difficult for him to find a plane. As long as he covered it with his aura, he could find traces of Yun-Er in a few seconds. The speed of the two of them was very fast. In a short while, they had already arrived in front of a plane. Longao directly released his primordial spirit aura and discovered that this plane was actually a mid-level plane. There were at least tens of billions of people inside. It was still considered normal and there were no traps. Senior Long, this is all I can help you with. I hope you will remember me. What a smart person. Longao nodded and said, I know this. I will definitely thank you in the future. Please. Senior Long, please. Longao didn't hesitate at all. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared from where he was, entering the plane in front of him. Seeing that Longao had disappeared, Yilan's face suddenly darkened. He said coldly, Longao, don't blame me. You killed my son. If I don't take revenge. It turned out that 3 days ago, Longao had used his finger as a sword to control the sky. Yilan's son was among the people who had been swallowed by the spatial crack. However, Yilan knew that he wasn't strong enough to kill Longao, so he endured it and waited for an opportunity to take revenge for his son. He finally found an opportunity. It had to be admitted that Yilan was indeed a sinister person. If it was any other time, how could Longao not have noticed? However, the situation was a little different now. He was a little too anxious about Yun-Er's safety, so he didn't notice anything wrong with Yilan. This gave Yilan an opportunity to take advantage of. Just as Yilan was laughing coldly, 9 terrifying auras descended upon him. Chapter 2690. By Jing, Zhugeming, Gongsun He, Xiafeng, Zhou Bolai, Lu Mu, Kong Shao, Fang Buping, and Wei Bujing. The 9 half-step rulers of the 9 cosmic empires had arrived at the same time. Yilan was shocked. They were truly worthy of being half-step rulers. In front of them, Yilan couldn't even think of resisting. This was the absolute difference in cultivation realms. It was too terrifying. Yilan greets the 9 lords. Bai Jing nodded indifferently and asked, Is Longao in this plane? That's right. I saw it with my own eyes. Longao had just stepped into the plane. All right, stand to the side. Let us deal with Longao. Yes. Yilan was very clear that he couldn't interfere in a battle of this level. If he interfered, he would be setting himself on fire. Yilan was naturally afraid of Longao taking revenge on him. However, in his opinion, Longao would definitely die this time. Once he was dead, who would come looking for him for revenge? Longao, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for killing my son. The 9 half-step rulers stood in front of him, looking on coldly. Let's attack directly and use our secret realms. We can't give Longao any chance to react. The 9 of them were well aware of how powerful Longao was. Even if there was only the slightest chance, Longao would be able to escape alive. Even now, the 9 of them still didn't know what had happened on the Martial Heaven continent. If we use the 9 secret realms and the ruler of the starry sky discovers us, we'll be in big trouble, said Wei Bujing worriedly. They all knew what the combined power of the 9 secret realms signified. The 9 secret realms were powerful divine items in themselves. They had just been forcibly divided into 9 pieces and obtained by the 9 of them at the same time. In countless years, the 9 of them had only joined forces once because they were afraid the ruler of the starry sky would find out. How could the other 8 not know what Wei Bujing was thinking? Bai Ling's expression was ugly. Things have already come to this. If we don't use the secret realms, we won't be able to kill Longao. We only have one chance. If the starry sky ruler discovers us, the 9 of us will flee. At this point, the air steward did not continue. He felt helpless. Flee far away. In the vast starry sky, the ruler of the starry sky was an invincible existence. Where could they hide? Moreover, once the 9 great secret realms were discovered, even if they could escape, they would never be able to see the sky again. To them, this was something that they could not accept. One was to kill Longao and the other was to hide forever. How should he choose? The 9 people's faces turned ugly. Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through the peak starry sky immortal realm. Who knew if he would advance further and reach half-step starry sky ruler? If that was the case, the 9 of them asked themselves, if they were to fight one-on-one, none of them would be Longao's opponent. What should he do? It was a difficult choice. As long as we're fast enough, even if the starry sky ruler discovers us, he won't necessarily know it's us. Elon. Kill. The 9 of them used their spiritual sense to communicate with each other. So far, Yilan didn't know that he had leaked Longao's whereabouts because he wanted to avenge his son, but he never thought that it would bring him a fatal disaster. In order to deal with Longao and keep it a secret, all the surrounding planes of this plane had been controlled and sealed by Yilan. There was not a single person in the surroundings. In other words, Yilan was the only one who knew that 9 half-step starry sky rulers had arrived. No wonder the 9 people wanted to kill him. Let's go. The 9 people did not continue to hesitate and immediately released their respective secret realms. In the intermediate plane, as soon as Longao stepped into the plane, he immediately released his aura and locked onto the entire continent. Given Longao's current strength, even a 10,000th of his primordial spirit's aura could easily cover the entire plane. His expression was very grave because he could not find any trace of Yun or under the primordial spirit's coverage. Could Yilan have tricked him? It seemed a little unlikely. Since Yilan already knew his identity and clearly knew his strength, unless he was kicked in the head by a donkey, how could he have tricked him? If he was not tricking him, then what was going on? His expression grew more and more grave. Longao did not hesitate in the slightest. Since his primordial spirit's aura could not cover the entire plane, he would have to work harder and search inch by inch. He did not believe that he could not find his son with his speed. Longao's speed did not need to be mentioned. Just as Longao was about to use time teleportation to leave, his expression changed abruptly. Because at this moment, 9 terrifying auras enveloped him, layer upon layer. Oh no. Of course, Longao knew what the 9 auras meant, and he had already guessed what the 9 auras meant. 9 half-step starry sky dominators of 9 grand starry skies, and they used 9 great secret realms at the same time. Longao had seen the combined power of the 9 great secret realms with his own eyes. Even with his current strength, it seemed that he could not compete with such a powerful force. If he stayed, it would only bring him endless trouble. Longao was about to step into the Chaos Palace, but he helplessly found that, under the 9 auras layer upon layer, he could not step into the Chaos Palace at all. This was the most troublesome thing. Longao, today I'd like to see how you can leave this plane alive. The 9 people knew that time was of the essence, and did not give Longao the slightest chance to react. The 9 great secret realms had all entered the plane and began to crazily suppress him. The auras became more and more terrifying. Not to mention ordinary people, even Longao could not hold on. Because of this, in just a few seconds, the entire medium-grade plane was filled with screams. The 9 auras covered the entire plane, and 99% of the people were killed by the auras without even a chance to react. The remaining 1% of the people were also slightly stronger starry sky cultivators, but even so, they couldn't resist the combined power of the 9 secret realms. In less than a minute, everyone in the entire mid-level plane was killed except for Longao, and no one was left alive. Whether it was an ordinary starry sky cultivator or a plane, they were nothing in the eyes of the 9 people. They were like ants. Otherwise, the 9 people would not have destroyed the entire plane. The anger in Longao's heart turned into billowing murderous intent that soared into the sky, but it was immediately suppressed by the 9 powerful auras. The combined power of the 9 great secret realms was too strong. Even the Chaos Stone Tablet seemed inferior to the 9 great secret realms. However, mastering the Chaos Stone Tablet was another matter. Just now, the combined power of the 9 great secret realms was indeed the most powerful Starry Sky divine tool. Chapter 2691. Now, Longao was the only one left on this plane. Everyone was killed. The 9 did this to hide this matter completely and not let others know, especially the Starry Sky rulers. Seeing the 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers descend, Longao's face turned ugly. However, he already knew that Yun-Er was not on this plane. As for why the 9 suddenly appeared here, as long as one wasn't a fool, they could guess. It must be Yilan. With just you guys? In a one-on-one situation, with Longao's current strength, even if he couldn't kill a half-step Starry Sky ruler, he could definitely fight to a draw. However, the situation now was completely different. 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers joined forces and even used their secret realms. Under such circumstances, Longao was indeed in a very passive position. If he couldn't step into the Primal Chaos Palace, he would be in big trouble. Holding the Primal Chaos Axe, Longao didn't hesitate at all. Taking the initiative, he continuously chopped out. Primal Chaos Second Axe, swallowing the heavens. A terrifying power directly descended. The 9 people who were full of confidence just now suddenly joined forces and looked at the young man in front of them in shock. They really couldn't figure out how Longao's strength had risen to such a level in just 100 years. Was this still the strength of a peak Starry Sky immortal? Unbelievable. Even if they saw it with their own eyes, the 9 people really didn't want to believe it. The Primal Chaos Axe in Longao's hand chopped out like a thunderclap, resounding through the entire plane. Primal Chaos Second Axe, swallowing the heavens. The 9 people didn't dare to hesitate at all. They immediately used their 9 secret realms and joined forces as quickly as possible. With a loud bang, the power of the 2 sides fiercely collided. This plane was only an intermediate plane, and after receiving such a terrifying power fluctuation, the entire plane began to tremble. Destruction. Longao deliberately destroyed this plane because only by leaving this plane could he have a chance to leave. The power of the 9 secret realms joining forces was too terrifying. Although Longao was confident in his strength, he also knew his limit. How could the 9 people not know Longao's intention, but in this case, even if they knew, there was nothing they could do. Longao's strength suddenly soared. This was something the 9 people never expected. There was a loud boom. The entire plane collapsed in an instant. Regardless of whether it was Longao or the 9 people, they immediately flew away. After breaking through to their level of cultivation, it was indeed somewhat easy for them to destroy a plane. However, unless it was absolutely necessary, no one was willing to destroy a plane. After all, doing so would not benefit them at all. Longao? Yilan, who originally thought that Longao had already fallen, was stunned when he saw the 10 people who suddenly appeared. He was a little dumbfounded as he looked in front of him. Is this true? 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers had joined forces, and they had even planned this in advance. Yet, they still couldn't stop Longao, which was quite shocking. Yilan, stay. When Yilan heard Longao's angry roar, how could he stay obediently? He immediately turned around and prepared to leave. 9 lords, save me! Save you? It was simply a joke. The 9 people couldn't wait to kill Yilan themselves. Since Longao couldn't escape, they might as well kill him with a borrowed knife. If Longao killed Yilan, they wouldn't have to burn the bridge after crossing it. Seeing the 9 people just follow without stopping Longao, Yilan instantly guessed that the 9 people wanted to silence him. In the end, they didn't want this matter to leak out. Anger. If he hadn't leaked it, how could the 9 people lock onto Longao so easily? Now, they wanted to burn the bridge after crossing it. Although he was angry, Yilan couldn't do anything about it. No matter what, the 9 people's strength was there. They could easily kill Longao. Just thinking about it made him feel regretful. He didn't even have the chance to regret. Even if he could escape Longao's attack, could he escape from the 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers? Just thinking about it made him feel extremely regretful. Whether it was strength or speed, Yilan couldn't compare to Longao. The two weren't on the same level at all. After taking 2 steps, Longao arrived in front of Yilan. Die. Longao, you can't kill me. You can't kill me. 9 lords, save me, save me. The 9 people's faces were gloomy, but in the end, they didn't do anything. They just watched Longao kill Yilan. To silence the witness, Longao didn't even use the Chaos 9 axes. The power of the Chaos axe in his hand split open the Starry Sky crack. The Starry Sky crack swallowed Yilan and disappeared without a trace. Not to mention killing a Starry Sky immortal, with Longao's strength. He could even kill a peak Starry Sky immortal in a matter of minutes. Seeing Longao kill Yilan, the 9 people immediately attacked. Since things had come to this, they had to kill Longao no matter what. Otherwise, the secret of the 9 great secret realms would definitely be leaked. The 9 people weren't afraid of the others. They were only afraid of the Starry Sky rulers. Not to mention the 12 Starry Sky rulers, any one of them could easily suppress them. Maybe they could rely on the 9 great secret realms to resist the suppression of one Starry Sky ruler, but if 2 Starry Sky rulers appeared at the same time, things wouldn't be so simple. It would be a lie to say that they weren't worried. The cultivation of the 9 people might be able to firmly suppress Longao, but in terms of speed, it was impossible for the 9 people to catch up with Longao. The more they chased, the more depressed they became. If they continued at this speed, even if they were beaten to death, they still wouldn't be able to catch up with Longao. Wouldn't this matter be a failure again? Speed wasn't determined by strength. It didn't mean that if you were strong, your speed would be fast, and if you were weak, your speed would be slow. For example, if a Starry Sky immortal comprehended time teleportation, his speed would be far superior to a peak Starry Sky immortal. For example, Longao was only a peak Starry Sky immortal, but his speed was far superior to the 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers. The 9 people were very sullen. If the other party was a half-step Starry Sky ruler or a Starry Sky ruler, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, the current situation was that Longao was only a peak Starry Sky immortal who comprehended time teleportation, yet his speed was far superior to the 9 of them. Longao, if you have the ability, stop and fight with us. Among the 9 of us, you can choose any one of us. As long as you win, the 9 of us swear that from today onwards, the 9 of us will never go against you again. Okay. Longao stopped, looked coldly at the 9 people in front of him, and said coldly, "Bai Jing, you and I will fight?" The 9 people were very surprised. They never thought that Longao would really choose to stop and fight with them. Chapter 2692. Even if Longao was strong, he was only a peak Starry Sky immortal, not even a half-step Starry Sky ruler. The difference between a half-step Starry Sky ruler and a peak Starry Sky immortal was too great. They were not on the same level. Was it possible for a peak Starry Sky immortal to defeat a half-step Starry Sky ruler? The 9 didn't believe it. However, Longao's situation was a bit special. Bai Jing was furious. What was Longao's intention? Why did he choose him instead of the others? Did Longao look down on him? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. However, Bai Jing was not a fool. Longao did not choose anyone else but chose her. It was definitely not a reckless decision. Did Longao come prepared? If he accepted the challenge rashly and lost, not only would he lose face, but he would also miss the best time to deal with Longao. Just now, they had already said that if Longao casually defeated one of them, from now on, they would no longer deal with Longao. Brother Bai, we support you. Brother Bai, how can a puny Longao be your opponent? What a joke. Bai Jing cursed in his heart. If he lost, it wouldn't be them who would lose face, but him. If it weren't for Longao, the 9 wouldn't have joined hands. For so many years, the 9 of them had always been fighting openly and secretly. After all, the 9 starry sky empires behind the 9 of them wanted to annex other empires. However, with the deterrence of the 9 of them, no matter which empire it was, they did not dare to act recklessly. Just now, who said that he wants to fight with Longao? Gongsun, he sneered in his heart. How could he not know that Bai Jing was worried that he wasn't Longao's opponent, so he didn't dare to act recklessly. Gongsun, he said with a smile, so what? We're going back on our words now. However, Longao, we can still give you a chance. As long as you can defeat all 9 of us at the same time, we won't deal with you anymore. How about it? Gongsun He's words not only made Longao feel ridiculed, but the others also felt a little disdainful. Disdain was disdain, but there was nothing they could do. To deal with Longao, they had to be shameless. Not to mention Longao's strength. Longao's speed and space divine tool alone, even if the 9 of them joined hands and used the power of the 9 secret realms, they still wouldn't be able to kill Longao. It would be a lie to say that they weren't depressed. What could they do? Encountering such a freak, other than feeling depressed, they could only be shameless. All of a sudden, Longao smiled. The 9 people sighed deeply in their hearts. As half-step starry sky rulers, if they had a way, they would never have done this. As long as they could kill Longao, no one would know about this matter. Who would say that they were shameless? Longao would Ao? How could Longao not know what the 9 were thinking? Shaking his head, his face full of disdain, he said mockingly, the 9 of you are indeed shameless ancestors. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. Longao had just finished speaking, and before the 9 people could react, Longao's figure suddenly disappeared without a trace. He disappeared into thin air. The 9 people cried out in their hearts. They thought Longao would really choose one of them to fight, but they didn't expect that he would create a diversion to enter the space divine tool. They were in big trouble now. Originally, using the power of the 9 great secret lands this time, he thought that he could successfully kill Longao. However, he never thought that he would not succeed in such a situation. Shame. Extraordinary shame. Bai Jing, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have missed this opportunity. That's right. Longao finally wanted to challenge you. Not only did you not accept the challenge, but you, before Air Master could finish his words, Bai Jing had already roared, Bullsh *T. You know Longao's variables better than me. Let me fight. If I can kill Longao, then everyone will be happy. If I can't kill Longao, then all the blame will be on my head. Why don't you do such a thankless thing? Because they didn't choose us, but you. Zhuge Ming sneered and said, if Longao chose us, we wouldn't have taken a step back. You really? Zhuge Ming's meaning was very clear. Anyone who wasn't a fool could see it. Bai Jing's face was gloomy to the extreme, and it was as ugly as it could be. He could see that they had missed the opportunity to kill Longao. The 8 people were all pointing the spear at him, as if he was the one to blame. How could he not be angry? Humph, since the 8 of you don't believe me and are so shameless, then I, Bai Jing, will sever all ties with you. From now on, you go your own way and I'll go mine. We'll mind our own business. Brother Bai. With a heavy snort, Bai Jing turned around and left quickly without hesitation. In a short while, he had disappeared without a trace. The 8 people were caught off guard because they didn't expect Bai Jing to choose to leave at this time. With Bai Jing's departure, the 9 secret realms couldn't join forces. In this case, even if Longao appeared, the 8 of them wouldn't be able to kill Longao. The 8 people regretted it. If they had known, they wouldn't have done that. What should we do now? In fact, the 8 of them were already divided. They just didn't want to admit it. Since things had come to this, Gongsun, he said coldly, without Bai Jing, the 9 secret realms can't join forces. It's impossible to kill Longao. I've made up my mind. Halfway through his words, Gongsun he didn't seem to want to say another word. He immediately turned around and left. With Gongsun he's departure, the other 7 people also didn't stay and went their separate ways. Looking at the 9 people who had all left, Longao smiled. If the 9 of them joined forces, especially with their secret realms, it would indeed be troublesome. They could even cause great harm to him. But now everything was over. If the 9 of them didn't join forces, he didn't have to worry about them. If it was a one-on-one fight, with his current strength, even if he couldn't kill a half-step Starry Sky ruler, it would be difficult for a half-step Starry Sky ruler to defeat him. As for the 9 of them joining forces again, according to the current situation, it seemed a little unlikely. Since you want to kill me so much, I'll try the strength of a half-step Starry Sky ruler. Longao wanted to test the half-step Starry Sky ruler's strength first. He wanted to see if he could win against a half-step Starry Sky ruler. Among the 9, Longao's first choice was Bai Jing. Chapter 2693. 9 Half-Step Starry Sky Sovereigns. Bai Jing was definitely the strongest among them, although there was not much difference in strength between the 9. Longao had already decided that since he wanted to test his current strength, then he would have to find the strongest person among the 9 people. This person was none other than Bai Jing. Longao's speed was extremely fast. Wanting to follow Bai Jing was as easy as flipping his hand. From the beginning to the end, Bai Jing would never have thought that the person the 9 of them had teamed up to deal with was following him. Just as Longao was looking for an opportunity to deal with Bai Jing, the situation suddenly changed. Jianling Mountain? Longao did not continue to follow Bai Jing. Instead, he rushed to Jianling Mountain as fast as he could. Yun Lu, are you looking for me? Before Longao left, he had given Yun Lu away to find him. He hoped that Yun Lu would be able to lock onto Yun Er's specific location. The vast starry sky was really too big. Trying to lock onto Yun Er's position with his own strength was like a fool's dream. It was almost impossible. Could it be that Yun Lu had locked onto Yun Er's specific location? If that was really the case, then it would be great. As if he could guess Longao's thoughts, Yun Lu nodded with a smile and said, "Yes, I have locked onto Long Yun's location." "Where is he?" Longao asked impatiently. Yun Lu did not mind at all. As a father, he could understand Longao's anxiety. Soaring Dragon Empire. Soaring Dragon Empire? Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew what Yun Lu meant. It seemed that his son had successfully returned to Soaring Dragon Empire. He could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Ever since Longao became hostile with Master Clairvoyant and the others, he had been worried that they had locked onto Yun Er's location. If that was the case, then he would be in a very passive position. "Thank you. You're welcome. In that case, I'll take my leave first. I won't see you out." Watching Longao's gradually disappearing figure, Yun He and Yun Tian suddenly appeared behind Yun Lu. The 2 of them were very curious. They did not know why the Patriarch was helping Longao so much. He really couldn't figure out the reason behind it. "Are you all very curious as to why I would help Longao like this?" The 2 nodded. Yun He thought for a moment and said, "Patriarch, it's still unknown whether we're friends or foes with the Longao. Especially before, the 3 of us stopped the Longao and Song Lin from leaving the passage. In the end, Song Lin was seriously injured. It's impossible for the Longao to not bear a grudge. You're right. At this time, Yun Tian continued, if Longao becomes our enemy in the future, we might as well take this opportunity to control Long Yun. He waved his hand. Before the two of them could finish speaking, Yun Lu had already stopped them and said, Longao and I will never be enemies. What happened before was because we had no other choice. Since Longao didn't pursue the matter at that time, I believe he won't mention it again in the future. I understand his character. Hearing the patriarch's words, the two of them became even more curious. They didn't know what was going on with the patriarch. Why was he so sure that they wouldn't become enemies with Longao in the future? It seemed a little too decisive. It didn't seem like the patriarch's character. How could Yun Lu not know what the two elders were thinking? He smiled and said, Longao's fate has already been decided. Otherwise, do you think the Longao would be able to live until now? They were very shocked. Others might not know, but the two of them knew very well what the patriarch's divination ability meant. Thinking of this, the two of them didn't say anything else. After leaving Jianling Mountain, Longao's face instantly darkened. Although he was pleasantly surprised that Yun Lu had locked onto Yun Er's position this time, behind the surprise, there was more helplessness and worry. Yun Lu's divination ability was just too powerful. If the clairvoyant master were to compare with Yun Lu, it would be like comparing a child to a middle-aged man. The two of them weren't on the same level at all. Since Yun Lu could lock onto Yun Er's position, he would definitely be able to continue doing so in the future. He might even be able to lock onto other positions, including the Soaring Dragon Empire. If Yun Lu and he were still friends, Yun Lu probably wouldn't go too far. If Yun Lu and he were to turn against each other, then with Yun Lu's powerful divination ability, his family would be in trouble. Taking a step back, even if Yun Lu and he didn't become enemies, there was no guarantee that Yun Lu would never betray him. As the saying goes, one may know a person for a long time without understanding his true nature. Previously, it was because Yun Lu had stopped him that Song Lin was seriously injured. Since there was a first time, there would definitely be a second time and a third time. Thinking of this, Longao's face became more and more gloomy and ugly. He had to think of a way to deal with Yun Lu as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knew what would happen in the future? Longao returned to the Soaring Dragon Empire as quickly as possible. As expected, just as Yun Lu had said, Yun suddenly returned to the Empire for some unknown reason. According to Yun narration, it turned out that ever since Long Yun left the Soaring Dragon Empire, his cultivation had never broken through. Until now, he was still a starry sky legend. This was also the reason why Long Yun was most depressed. Just a few decades ago, Long Yun entered a mysterious plane and almost died there. After that incident, Long Yun seemed to be a little different, so he returned to the Empire. In the pavilion, Longao and Long Yun sat facing each other. Long Yun said, "Father, I don't know what's going on in that mysterious plane. I only remember that after I stepped into that plane, I was immediately sucked into a mysterious cave." After hearing Long Yun's words, Longao's face became very solemn. After thinking for a while, he said, "It seems that I have to make a trip there." Hearing that his father wanted to go to the plane he entered, Long Yun was very shocked. Because no one knew better than him how dangerous the mysterious plane was. If it wasn't for his good luck, how could he be here now? He might have already died in the mysterious plane. "Father, it's better if you don't go. The mysterious plane is too dangerous. Once you step in, I'm afraid you'll die." Long Yun was very worried. He definitely didn't want his father to take the risk. Even if his father's cultivation had smoothly broken through the limit of Starry Sky Immortal Realm, it still seemed impossible. Of course, Long Yun knew what his father meant in the Soaring Dragon Empire. If something really happened to his father, then things would be really troublesome. At that time, how would he explain it to his mother and everyone else? Not to mention others, even he himself couldn't pass this hurdle in his heart. Because of this, Long Yun continued, "Father, listen to my advice. Don't go. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."